me.
One
Yeah,
is
it's
in
bigger than me.
Oshawa. We
Yeah,
got one in Oshawa.
it's
We
the only
got
one
the
that's bigger than me.
we got one. Yeah, my brother-in-law works in that sector. So we
Okay.
got one in Oshawa, and then we got one in Deep River, which was the first one ever in Canada, and that is now a test facility where they
Okay.
test different ways of generating from I don't know whatever the fuck they're doing over there.
So you only have. So we only have, as a country, we only have one. Like versus me.
That's the ones I know of. That's the I
No,
know
but and you're probably right,
so
Parkway. But
OPG
that's the
OPG
problem, you know. That's the
OPG provides Ontario and Quebec partly, right? So I don't know about the rest of the country.
in nuclear.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So you guys have a leg up on me, like you have no idea. But it was. I wanted to use myself as an example and not as a stepping stone, you know.
No, by all means, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's because we're dealing with because it you know what, it's because we spoke about Elon Musk, and Elon Musk he's not an idiot, and we're not gonna treat him like he's an idiot, and Richard Hart doesn't treat him like he's an idiot either, and the reason why nobody
I think you're getting rugged, buddy.
Or he accidentally clicked the mute button.
no,
Yep,
I didn't.
all got rugged.
Hello?
Yeah, you back.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even know what you guys heard. I was on a conversation with Parkway for a second, and I went all in on Elon Musk and Richard Hart and energy because it, there was a point in, like, I'm a Richard Hart guy. I like his style, and the reason why I found Richard Hart is because I was a fan of a certain individual. You know, that speaks
Yeah, man.
that, in my
He's very
opinion,
unique
speaks the
in his
truth.
own ways. For sure.
Sorry,
I'm
sorry.
saying he's very unique in his own ways, right? Like
He is.
yeah, I haven't met anyone that dares to dress up like the way he does and move around the way he does. He's a cool cat, dude. Like I appreciate the way he is.
The dress up thing again. I have a little bit less respect for the guy because he's a European and he's addressing to the American audience, and he, again, that's my opinion, that he I guess in that river.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Same thing like
exactly.
Niagara Falls, right? Right at the
Exactly.
Niagara River. Yeah. They can
Exactly.
build turbines there and generate electricity like fucking off the yayo and provide it for free.
But Parkway, before you and I get rugged, because I want to talk to you directly, because you mentioned the nuclear power plant. It's rare people speak about that word, because that word is clean like nobody's business. Like it's incredible how clean that could be if it's done right. You know,
Yeah, man. See,
it's
I'm a little bit
incredible.
worried about what happened in what was it, Fukushima?
Well, you can use Chernobyl. I know we're gonna get rugged for using that word because that's the word of the year, you know. But it is what it is, man. Chernobyl cut,
I was in
it,
Europe actually when that thing blew up, eh?
dude. It
Back
cut
then.
corners though, man. It cut fucking
Yeah,
corners.
well, it went all the way up to above UK, and then it came all the way down. So it went literally through Central Europe, all the way down to Italy,
You're talking
and then from there on,
you're talking about the cloud. I'm talking about the tech.
the dust. Yeah,
Yeah,
man, the dust.
but I'm
Yeah.
talking about the tech. I'm talking about the workers that were there, like
Oh, well,
physically
they were
there,
gone.
man.
They were gone.
Yeah,
They
but
were
can you
gone.
can you imagine going to work though, dude? Like that's what I do for a
That's
living,
why
man.
they get paid so much,
No,
right?
no, but
That's why they get
yeah,
paid so much.
yeah, but like I don't even work in nuclear in Canada because that's what we were talking about before. In Canada, we have one. Why do we have one? Especially when the government is taxing people that use less than Chernobyl. Because anything, in my opinion, that I work in the energy sector, anything less than Chernobyl, in the current prime minister's eyes, needs to be taxed. Because Chernobyl is the greenest you can get. It's the greenest. But don't fucking run your stuff like Chernobyl, because if you start cutting corners, you're gonna get the same results. And they know that. They know that. So if you're Elon Musk and you start talking about, you know what, invest in Bitcoin. You know what? Don't even invest in Bitcoin. If you want to buy Tesla, buy Doge. You were still in proof of work. So me being a multi-billionaire, more than Richard Hart, unfortunately for Richard Hart, but if I'm richer than Richard Hart and I have an influence in space travel and transportation on our current roads on Earth, it's an unfair advantage. But as a society, being myself, just being JR, unfortunately, I have respect for the employees of Chernobyl. I have a knowledge of the failure that the administration put onto the employees of Chernobyl, but unfortunately, I'm just saying it out loud, when Elon Musk talks about proof of work and then he starts talking about recycled nuclear energy, for me, man, it's dangerous because that's a different market. It's a different market, and I wish that Mr. Wonderful was here, and I wish Famous and Mr. Wonderful were able to grab the mic and challenge me on this topic because, like,
Like wonderful.
on the spot, on the
What
spot.
exactly? For what? The nuclear stuff.
Well, I just want you guys to both challenge me on the spot on the topic because
I haven't really know. I really don't.
I know, but maybe Mr.
It's not
Wonderful.
that I have nothing really to say, but I
No,
think, in my
but
opinion,
you
I
have a
think they're only
flavor.
using.
But you have a
We're
flavor.
not using energy for. We're not
We
using
never
energy
did.
to take care of us. We're using energy to make money. So
Well,
when you do
famous,
that,
famous. We're literally going on, like all of us. We flock to YouTube, and like I just want you guys to know, everybody all together. Like, and again, I don't want to be one of those guys, but whatever. It is what it is, man. We are literally watching a rocket ship the size of the Empire State fucking building, and we're hoping that it lands. Okay, in the words of Elon Musk, we're hoping, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, we're hoping it lands on the moon to build a base to land on Mars. That, if nobody acknowledges the amount of CO2 that dumps in all of the fucking layers that we have, all the way to whatever sun we think we have, if regardless if it's God or if it's just vitamin D, it's a lot of tailpipes all the way to the point of no return.
Well,
And it's not the first, it's just the biggest.
all you need to do is get out of all you have to do is get out of the gravity pull. And then after that, whatever velocity you had, you could cut it off and you'll continue in that direction. So technically, you don't need any fuel to go to Mars. You just need to be pointed in the right direction at a certain velocity.
We have to undo the belt. Famous.
What do you mean?
You just gotta undo the belt.
What do you mean you have to undo the belt? You just have to get it out of there. You just gotta counter the gravity. So as soon as there's no more gravity, you're good. All you need is one rocket booster, one little like literally a blow of air, or like someone to push the rocket in that direction at that speed, and then you don't even have to maintain it. It's just that's the way it works in space.
No, I agree. That's once you're in space.
You're wrecked, external, you're wrecked.
Sorry.
Come back in.
Sorry.
That's so fucking weird. Every time he comes in, he has to go, leave, come out, and come back in.
Sometimes, though.
No, every time.
The guy's a champ in other spaces, though. He's
no.
Champ,
I love Turtle, man. He fucking puts me straight.
Yeah,
but from what you were saying, man. Listen.
It's because, like, the Red Bull guy, he jumped from the belt. The belt where the Red Bull guy, the Felix from the Red Bull, when he jumped, he went down. Because if he was just a little bit higher, he would not go down, bro. I'm letting you know. This is, and like, beyond that belt, that's not my expertise. Like, I'm not
beyond
the guy
that
to
belt,
speak.
there's no more gravity.
Exactly. But then that's when I agree with you, Famous, that just a little bit goes a long way. But
the belt, okay, I understand what you're saying by the belt now. I understand what you're saying by the belt. So yes, technically you are absolutely right. When you pass that belt, all you need is that booster. You just need that little and then once you're propulsed. Okay, what's up, External? Let's see if he's good.
Yeah. Person, can you hear?
Yeah, he's good. Yeah,
okay.
He's good.
Person comes up and she has a request. Just accept her.
Was that chick with the blue check mark? Yo, what's she gonna say?
Doesn't matter. I vouch for her. She's my girl.
No.
She came in. I tried putting her up. She left.
Don't worry. Just give it a second.
I saw her from another space too, though. I'm sorry. I don't know if it was my fault because I was closed.
No, don't worry about it, bro.
Yeah, but it's okay. I still take responsibility.
Yo, I pinned the tweet up to the top. So I've been drinking a lot of beer tonight, but yeah, I've been doxxed. A lot of people have been like asking me that question lately, and I've been on like 3 different streams. So yeah, I posted a video. I'm thinking about changing the profile picture, but I just didn't know if I should or not. So, yo, if anybody wants to stream, let me know.
Yo, perfect, man. Yo, you actually look like exactly what I thought you looked like.
Bro, a big white fucking Missourian?
Yeah, I thought you were. How tall are you?
Like 5'11", 6 foot. I mean, it says 6 foot on my driver's license.
It's exactly what I thought you would. I didn't think you were 255. I thought you would have been just like me, a skinny guy. But it's good, bro. I still thought you. I didn't think you had a beard. I didn't think you had a beard. Like, like Mad Hatter, completely different. When I saw Mad Hatter's picture, I was like, no, I completely did not imagine him like that. I imagine Mad Hatter as like a tall guy,
100%,
with long ass hair to like his shoulders, rocker, like he goes into the mosh pit and stuff like that. Like he's very, even though he's very articulate. So I knew he read, but like I felt like he had this, like, he probably is that, but I just maybe thought he had long hair to his shoulders. For some reason, something was like Turtle. I think he has long hair. Like there's something that makes me think that he has long curly hair. So when he speaks, it's like he has this like long curly hair, you know, like wavy shit.
Yo,
Wow, good job, bro.
the one I make.
Do you actually have long hair, curly hair?
Yeah, bro. Good job. That's
Yeah.
fucking good.
Amazing.
The one I make fun of the most is Collector Mind, and I just feel like he looks like Santa Claus. Like this guy looks straight like Chris Kringle from what's it with
Santa
Allen.
Claus, yeah. Tim
Yeah.
Allen.
Yeah, Tim Allen, that's who it is. And I was like, this dude looks just like Tim Allen and Santa. I swear to God.
I think Collector's like 50, 55, man. Like he has to be. He's not young, man. If he's young, holy shit, man. I think he's really like he sounds like he has too much wisdom, man. He doesn't sound like he's broken.
he's very
He
mature.
sounds like he's been around the block, man. You know,
For sure. I think so
way
too.
he
That's why I
refers to his
value
wife,
his
the way he
business.
refers to his
School of
wife,
Hard Knocks.
the way he refers to his wife, the way he approaches things, the way he talks to us. He's definitely not a youngin. I can guarantee you that. Well, actually, I'm not a youngin either anymore. I don't know why I think that.
Shit, how old are you, Famous?
I'm 30, man. I'm fucking old.
You're
man.
30? Jesus
Dude,
Christ,
you're
man.
young, bro. Fuck.
Yeah,
Bro,
no,
you're
bro.
old.
kid.
Check this
I
guy out over here.
You're
Bro,
still,
I'm
still
telling
young.
you, man. As soon as I hit 30, bro, everyone was like, "Yo, how old are you, man?" I'm like 30, and when I was saying it, I was like, "Oh my god, I can never be 20 ever again."
Yeah, bro. Wake up call. Yeah,
It
wait
is.
till
It
you hit
is.
40.
And you know
Time
what?
in the
You know what,
markets,
people? And you
not
know what? I
timing
don't
the
know why
markets,
girls trip.
famous.
Because you know how happy I was, bro? Like, I know I'm old, but I'm so happy. I'm starting a new decade. Like, everything I did in my 20s, it doesn't matter. Now I'm in my 30s. Holy shit, Collector. How the fuck?
Collectors in the room. Are you
Holy
dancing with the
shit, bro.
collector?
That's crazy.
Holy
Man.
fucking
Santa
shit.
Yo,
Claus!
talk about
Ah,
the
shit.
collector. He's here
Yo,
to
do you have
collect,
like
bro.
Collector, do you
Guys here to
actually have
collect.
like a spy in the group and they tell
The
you like,
guy's
yo,
got a
talking shit?
radar, man. He's got
Yo,
this
we got
fucking radar.
radar, bro. Whoa.
Yeah, he's got a radar.
But we
man.
weren't talking
He
shit,
knows.
Collector. We love you.
He
We were
knows.
just saying, okay, this is what I was saying. I was saying you're maybe like I'm all worried about this, but I said you were like 50, 55, and like, you know, you're
55, dude.
yeah, it could be 55.
50. Give him 50, bro.
So
Who cares,
let
bro? We're men, bro.
me help
Really?
the famous. He was saying that you sound very matured
Yeah.
and you sound with a lot of experience.
You could not be my age. You could not be my age, just because also the way you refer to your lady and stuff, your wife. It's just you're definitely not my age. But yeah, so like I know Collector will dox himself, but you know, Snake and Apes, I knew exactly. I knew you didn't have a beard. That's for sure. You don't sound, you know, Collector sounds like he has like that like 5 o'clock shadow, but he doesn't have that 5 o'clock shadow type of beard. I don't think he has like a
He
bushy.
doesn't have a 5 o'clock shadow, bro.
Yeah, I know he has like that. He doesn't have
Collector's
a
fucking
massive beard.
clean shaven, bro. He's like
Yeah,
nobody's
yeah, but he
business.
has that perkiness of that you could see it. You know, like it's not clean baby shave like the way Steak and Apes has it.
Nah,
You know
dude.
what I mean?
I just shaved this morning, all right? If you actually like click on it and watch the video, it literally says, yo, I got I think it says I have like 359 days.
Bro, you got baby face, bro. You got baby face, bro. You're
You
like
do have a
Popeye
baby
the
face.
Sailor.
Yo, I
Yo,
just
that's
shaved
baby
this
face.
morning. I'm in the military, all right? We got to shave every
That's
fucking day.
yeah,
That is true.
that's
Yeah, but
exactly
bro, if
what
you
I
have
want
to
to
shave
find
every
out.
day, you would see, like, bro, trust me, when my cousin shaves like clean like that, you see like still the blackness of his beard. You know what I mean? It doesn't go completely out. I'm saying
No, my
you have a
dad.
baby. You're like me. I have a baby face. I'm telling you, if I were to shave, I haven't shaved, clean shaved like that since since I nicked myself on my lip.
Yeah, I definitely thought that, dude. I thought, you know, after shaving for fucking 10 years every single day, I would get out of the military and I'd have this big ass fucking full beard. No, that's genetics, bro. Like, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter how many
but you have
times
a baby
you
face.
shave.
I think Collector kind of has a. I don't think Collector's one of those guys with those big bushes, you know, big motherfucking like biker beards, you know. I say collector with like his nice shades and his helmet, but he doesn't have a beard. You know, if he would have more.
Dude, I imagine collector's he's like the uncle that you see every single holiday, and he's always the one that's drinking that eggnog. That's just what I see from him, bro.
I see him later on the porch, on his like rocking chair on the porch, and he's everyone that passes by. How's it going? Hope you have a lovely day.
Hey, just a question. We got a
Lovely
question
collector.
from someone. Who's the tall, good-looking Missouri guy?
That's definitely me. I'm
I
from Missouri.
definitely thought that was you, my man.
Yeah, I'm 255 pounds of pure American badass. All right.
Hey, that's what I like to see. So what kind of Harley you drive then, my man?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a Harley. It's actually a Honda, but it's a 2008 Shadow 750. It was my first bike. Bought it about 2 years ago.
Have you gone across the country? I remember my dad when he I'll dox this little part of it. He had 2 weeks to get from from one side of the United States to the other side, and so he decided to get a motorcycle. He failed his motorcycle license test, and when he told the instructor about it, he's like, "Yeah, well, I just got to get up to Washington." And he's like, "Oh, well, if you're gonna go that far, here's your license."
Dude,
Gave
that's
him a
Why don't you
license.
buy a Shadow?
yo. Why'd I buy
What's
a
up,
Shadow?
Alex?
Because guess what? I did. Yo, Alex, Jesus Christ. Dude, I've added this guy about a dozen times. I hit him up in Telegram. I hit him up on the Hedron protocol. This man is finally up here. How the fuck do I encapsulate a steak into my fucking JPEG?
Wait. First, I want to say congratulations, Alex.
Oh, yeah, my
First,
bad.
everything.
Let me
Yeah,
get
Congratulations on
shout out
exactly.
everything, man.
first.
Yeah,
Thank
Congratulations,
bro.
man.
Big advocate over here, man. You can ask the famous. The only thing I talk about is NFTs, and I praise your project the most because it's very, very unique in the entire market.
And I'm going to praise you again, too, because you literally just flipped the whole fucking game. Like, whenever I say Hexicans build better, like you built better, like you changed the whole entire NFT game. Nobody's gonna buy a fucking picture on the internet now. Like, are you fucking nuts? As soon as they learn that you can encapsulate a stake and put a nominal value on an actual JPEG through crypto, like nobody's going to buy fucking pictures on the internet anymore. So how the fuck do we use your protocol and divvy out you like 2.5, 5%, whatever it may be, whatever.
Yo, bro, calm down. Steak, dude, you drank too much. You're talking weird numbers, bro. He's talking about a 0.5%, 1% or something, dude.
Oh, you don't think it was, nah, dude,
Half
hold
a
Don't
on.
worry about the
percent.
percent.
Hold
Just
on.
keep
Yeah,
your
bro,
shit,
you
Guys,
start
guys,
low.
we
You
all love
start
him.
low.
I think he wants to say something. Alex wants to say something. What's up, Alex? How are you? I think you have a lot of fans. I don't know if it's Alex actually behind the Hedron account though, but thank you, Hedron.
No expectations.
No, yeah, I appreciate it, guys. It is me. And as far as putting the stakes in like other people's NFTs, that's gonna come later. That's not something you can do at the moment, but it's something I'm working on. So, but don't expect that.
I think you're
Yo,
getting rugged a little bit.
he's right. I can't hear shit.
I was just gonna say that.
Is that any better?
Much.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I thank you guys. It's been a crazy past couple of days, but yeah, you can't do the NFT thing yet. So that's something I'm working on, but don't have any expectations of that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have any expectations, but I would definitely love to stream with you and Gerardo and just bullshit, for like an hour, maybe talk like different possibilities, like kind of where your head's at and moving forward. Because, we have Mintra.io, but they don't have a whole bunch of shit. And I'm just saying we could change the game on the NFT marketplace by being able to add that functionality.
Yo, Steak and Apes, remember to have me always as a co-host next to your shows when you're talking NFTs, bro. I'm signing up. No way around this. Without me. That's a given.
So what's going on in here tonight, guys?
Well, I figured here's my question. So, you from St. Louis or you from the other Missouri?
I'm from neither.
No, it's
Well,
Yeah, for you, Steak.
Oh yeah, I'm from about an hour and a half south of St. Louis,
Oh, I
Farmington.
figured.
Like, is everyone getting rugged? Like, what the fuck is up with these Twitter?
I don't know.
No,
but
we're trying to be
can I
respectful.
ask you, John, a question?
Go for it.
Okay, so here, John, the thing is, I was onboarded with Staker app.
Oh no.
Yeah, well, that's well.
No,
It
this
says
is
host
really
is
good.
losing
This is
connection.
really good. This is
No,
really
it says
good. I
host
want
is
to hear.
losing connection, guys.
Alex's answer to this because it's a very, very
Sorry?
good,
Oh, guys,
very good question.
It says Lost is losing connection. Hedron, Alex, if it loses connection, I'll
man.
add you again to another thing, just in case, guys, in advance. This stupid fucking spaces.
Is it me, man?
No, it's the spaces, man. It doesn't make sense. All day today, it's been rugging.
Why? Dude, when I was co-host, it was fine. I got no notifications on my phone, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
I can hear you fine.
Okay. So I don't know what your name is, but I'll address you as Hedron. So I was onboarded with Staker app. Now I understand it might not be your problem, but I want to, because you're in the space, I'd like to ask you a question. I want to take advantage of what you're offering because I respect your way of doing business. And compared to others that are doing similar things, affiliated to Richard Hart, you're the only one. You're the only one that does the things that you're doing your way. However, because I was onboarded with Staker app, my stakes are locked into an OSA safe. And my problem, which might not be your problem, and you might address me with the statement of being, well, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do because it's not my problem. It's just that it sucks if I hear that answer, which I understand. That's no problem. It's my fault. I like to take advantage of. I'd like to promote what you do and how you went about doing business, and I don't know how to do it by being someone who is a Hexagon 555 with the Staker app.
Bro, if you want to promote this, man, my bad.
So you actually can use Staker app. It's a bit of a process. David Feeder did a really good video on it. It's on the Hedron Twitter. You might have to scroll down a little bit.
I'll DM you.
Okay, I just wanna cut you off for a second. David, what?
David Feeder. He's a YouTuber that does a lot of stuff with Hex, and
I pinned it to the top.
Yeah. He did a really good video on it. We have a guide in the Telegram. The whole problem with it is being an OSA safe is it's just kind of a complicated thing. You end up having to use your Staker seeds inside of MetaMask to unlock a Gnosis safe, and then you have to use Wallet Connect to get from Gnosis safe to the Hedron app. It's like this whole process. It's
That's
a lot.
That is literally the part where there's a cutoff, and I understand it's not your problem.
Hey, man. Hey, I just DM'd you the video. I just free claimed my Hedron 3 days ago. I went to give David Feeder a shout out, but he blocked me. I don't know why he blocked me. Probably something to do with NFT and Hex. Dude, I literally DM'd him in Telegram. I was like, bro, I went to give you this fucking shout out because you made this badass fucking video on how to free claim. Dude, because I moved all of my Hex from MetaMask over to the Staker app and shit like that. And then I went to so all of my T-shares were in Staker app, and I was like, fuck. So I free claimed some Hedron with some bullshit that I had in MetaMask, a couple bullshit stakes, and I was like, oh, that's great. And then I see the number go up and I'm like, fuck. All right. So then that video got posted and I was like, awesome, dude. It took me probably 5 minutes, after watching this video to fucking free claim my stakes off Staker app. I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to at this dude and, promote him and be like, yo, this man's awesome. And then I found out he blocked me. I was like, bro, what did I do?
Dude, I had asked Conrad Zen one day after I saw that video that he posted with Richard. I made one post. That old fucker blocked me instantly. And since then, I haven't been able to see any of his videos.
Yeah, I even hit him up. I looked up for his Telegram and stuff like that. And like, I sent him a picture of him having me blocked. I was like, bro, what did I do? I was trying to give you a shout out. Like, you do some great work, but you never know. Like I'm trying to figure out the algorithm right now of whenever I do these like free NFT giveaways and stuff and like these promotions, like, all right, is it because I reply to everyone with like the same screenshot? Well, it's a different screenshot of the NFT and the contract and stuff, but I copy and paste the same exact message into it. So I'm not sure if maybe it's like the Twitter algorithm saying fuck you, or if it gets in front of like too many faces and then they report me. So I feel like it has something to do with like the Twitter algorithm.
Yeah, I would definitely change it up a little bit. Most copy pastes can get you. So if you're going to do a copy paste, just copy the link and then quote your tweet to someone else. And then as long as basically you just keep quoting that tweet and then you just at a new person's name, that still might get you. So it might just also be easier to copy the link and then send it directly to them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I've seen a lot of people be like, hey, check your DMs, and stuff like that. But I'm like, I get more engagement whenever I post it on Twitter, but there's this fine line and stuff. So I don't know. I'm still figuring that one out. I'll see what happens with it. Yo, Collector, you had your hand up for a hot minute. I'm telling you, you look like
Tim Allen.
Tim Allen. Yeah, Tim Allen from Santa Claus.
Who does? I mean, what is that? Who do I look like?
Tim Allen from Santa Claus.
Where do you get that from?
Your voice.
Oh shit!
I'm sorry?
That is an amazing rebuttal.
No, your voice. That's just how I picture you. I picture you looking like Tim Allen from Santa Claus.
That's too funny. Hey, I appreciate you inviting me up to speak or let me speak. I just wanted to ask everybody if they would mute their mics for a while and allow Crypto BitLaw and Alex to talk to one another for a little bit. We had a conversation, a very late night conversation with Crypto BitLaw the other morning. It was about, I think it was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, before we finally got done. But I knew after he spoke that we needed to get him and Alex together so they could talk with one another. And I'm basically just going to go into listen mode as those two speak. And Alex, I want to thank you for coming in on the invitation, and also Crypto BitLaw also coming in as well. There were 3 main topics that I can remember that came up in the conversation that were of interest to the people that were in the room, as well as I knew would be of interest to Alex, and I know are interest to Crypto BitLaw. One of them was the Hedron, its LLC formation and some questions surrounding it, its security audit and the incompleteness of it, or some of the concerns with some of the findings. And the third thing is the possibility of Hedron actually being a security. And once those two get done talking, I was going to ask Alex, tell Alex, I wanted to congratulate you, Alex, on a good launch and everything, what you got going on. It's interesting to watch a project get started and up from the ground floor. So I just wanted to congratulate you on that. And then I had one thing to talk to you at the end about the NFT and gaming. So Crypto BitLaw and Alex, the floor is yours.
Hey everyone. Hi, Alex.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Not too bad.
All right, cool. So yeah, I just had a couple questions. We're talking amongst ourselves and trying to figure out and do some research on your project and just kind of hash out everything that's going on and cross all the T's, dot all the I's, DYOR, all the due diligence, that sort of thing. I noticed on your website for hedron.pro, that's your website, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. At the bottom, it mentions at the footer, it's copyright 2022 Samina Tempest LLC. Is that your limited liability company?
Yes, it's me and another Mexican.
Okay, so your partner, I guess the two officers and directors are you and Barrett Nikamp, correct?
Correct.
Who is Barrett Nikamp?
He's a long childhood friend of mine, and we both invested in Hex together. And when I kind of came up to him, it's like, hey, I have this idea for a cool crypto project. You know, me and him bounced ideas back and forth for about, I don't know, probably about a year, and through that process, kind of collectively came up with what was Hedron.
Okay, so what's his role in Samina Tempest currently?
Currently, nothing. He's there just as a founder of it, but as far as the operating agreement goes, I have complete and total control of Hedron.
Okay, so there's is the operating agreement filed with the Secretary of State in Ohio?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's see. Is Samina Tempest LLC, is that company responsible for producing Hedron?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any other outside investors that invested in Samina Tempest LLC?
No, we do not.
So it was just you and Barrett Nikamp?
Correct.
One second. All right. Who wrote the smart contract for Hedron?
I did.
You did. You wrote all of the smart contracts?
Correct.
Did you have any outside development help in writing these smart contracts?
I did not.
You did not. So it was totally you.
Yep, completely me.
All right, cool. Thank you. So you had no investors. So this was funded all with your own funds, you and Barrett Nikamp, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there currently a liquidity pool on Uniswap for Hedron?
Yes.
Who provided the initial liquidity in the liquidity pool?
I did out of my own personal wallet.
How much was that?
Roughly 10 grand USDC.
10K USD. Okay. Liquidity pool. All right.
Granted, I think someone else, if we're getting technical, someone else had already provided the Hex Hedron pair before I provided the USDC pair.
Do you know who that was?
Now, just some random community member.
Just a random community member. Well, at that point, was Hedron already minted, or how did they have access to Hedron? I guess before that, is this Uniswap V2 or V3?
I provided it on V2, but someone had created a V3 pool before I created the V2 pool.
Okay, so on the V3 pool, I mean, the way that I understand that V2 works is that if you're providing liquidity, you have to provide equal amounts to each side. So, if you have like a Hex ETH pair, you have to provide equal amounts to each side. And that's not the case with V3. You could just dump into one side.
So on V3, you can provide unequal sides by moving when you're creating a V3 pool, you still have to provide both sides, but you can make the ratio of those sides whatever you want.
Oh, okay. Okay. So at the point that was Hedron already launched by the time that someone created the Hex Hedron V3 pool?
Yes, it launched on February 26th on the UTC day change, and everyone had access to it at the same exact time.
Okay, so then someone took their Hedron and then created a pool on V3.
Correct.
All right, cool. All right, so you've had a couple audits done. Well, at least one that I know of the Hedron smart contract. Was it done on all of the smart contracts, or just one of the smart contracts, or the entire group of contracts?
All three smart contracts were audited by CERTIC.
Okay, so to date, you've had, was it one audit or multiple audits?
I guess it's technically one audit. There's a preliminary one on there too, so maybe you could consider it 2 audits. But they were all audited as a group, as a cohesive unit.
Okay. So going through what's posted, your security audit was provided by CERTIC, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so going by, I guess, what you have posted, it's a February 17th, 2022 code security audit. I see a few different findings here. I guess some of them are, I guess, of different uh, vulnerability levels, ranging from critical to discussionary. And then some of them have been noted as resolved. For the ones that have been noted as resolved, were these vulnerabilities that the auditors realized in the code and then presented to you, and then you resolved them, and then they finished their report after they were resolved?
Correct. There's a few. You can read through it. There's some of them that'll say, let me find one 'cause I'm looking at it right now. You'll see a few that say like the team already fixed it before the preliminary report came out. So CERTIC's been involved since November, and the code was unfinished at that time. So they were already looking at the code before it was complete. So some things were resolved of our own volition before they brought them up. So anything that says like it's already been resolved before the preliminary report came out was just things that we had fixed while they were also looking at the code. Anything that doesn't say that was stuff that we fixed after their first report.
Okay. So I guess given the date on this audit report was February 17th, and today's what, March 8th, there's still a couple of these findings that are listed as, I guess, major severity levels that were acknowledged rather than resolved. And I guess I'll go through them. Well, I guess I'll go through the major ones. HHC 03, dangerous use of the burn function as volatile code, and HHC 04, token distribution to Hedron source address, which is listed as a centralization or privilege vulnerability. Do you care to speak on either of those 2 major vulnerabilities and whether or not they have been addressed, and how so?
Sure. So the dangerous use of burn. So what you have to understand is CERTIC looks at the code from a pure like security of funds standpoint, right? Like their entire audit process is designed around the idea of like what is the safest possible thing for a particular user's amount of funds. And when you're going to burn tokens, you kind of have 2 choices when you're writing a smart contract. You can use burn or you can use burn from. So we opted to do the same thing the hex contract does, and we used the regular burn function. And that's because we do not allow, like Hedron does not allow you to define how much you are going to burn, except in one very specific case, that's the proof of benevolence function that users don't have direct access to. But in the case of what they're talking about, which would be in the loan repayment and in the bidding and auctions and stuff, the users actually don't have any control over how much is burnt. The contract does math to figure that out on its own. So the use case for burn from, which is arguably more safe in CERTIC's opinion, would be that a user can't accidentally burn too much, because burn from requires you to make an approval before you can burn. So it's 2 transactions. And we decided, we talked to the community about this for a few weeks and ultimately decided, hey, it doesn't make sense for someone who wants to make some kind of repayment or bid on an auction or whatever to have to do 2 transactions every time they want to do those things. And there's no risk in the contract code of them accidentally burning too much, because the contract is going to burn what it burns regardless. It determines what that amount is. The only exception being when you're making a bid, you get to decide that one. But again, when you have like these liquidation auctions and people have to do 2 transactions every time they want to burn tokens, it's a little bit not a good user experience, more or less. So in Zerg's opinion, not using burn from is technically less safe for user funds because it's not 2 transactions, it's only 1 transaction. But that's really their entire basis for that, is that technically, it's on a technical level, it's less safe, but it's not necessarily more exploitable. It's just less safe from a protection of user funds perspective, because they don't have to do that approval transaction first before they burn.
Okay, so yeah, by less safe, you mean it requires less approval on behalf of the user. They don't actually have to sign and validate the transaction. But is it like are we sacrificing security for, I guess, the sake of saving gas fees or something like that? Is that the way? Am I understanding that correctly?
I mean, this is the same thing the hex contract does when it burns tokens, right? When you make a stake, that's 1 transaction you do. 1 transaction you sign, and it burns your hex tokens. If hex were to use burn from, when you went to go create a stake, you would first have to do an approval transaction, wait for that to go through, and then do a start stake transaction. So it would be 2 transactions every time. So from our perspective, we're looking at things like loan repayment and in bidding on these liquidation auctions and stuff like that. You are in a situation where you would have to make 2 actual transactions on the blockchain to do any of that. And in our opinion, that's a bad user experience, and it isn't necessarily any less safe per se. It's maybe just less, let's go for the loan repayment route, because probably that's really their biggest concern, is the contract calculates how much that repayment is. You don't get a choice. It says this is what the payment is every 30 days. This is what you make. And there's no room for accidental burning too many tokens there. You don't have control over how many are burnt. The contract just tells you this is how many are going to be burnt. Submit this transaction if you would like to make the payment. So in that scenario, burn from adds no added security other than the fact that you now have to make 2 blockchain transactions to do it, versus using just regular burn, you only have to make 1 transaction. So, this is something that a lot of contracts do, including the hex contract, and in our opinion, it was a horrible user experience to have to make 1 $12 transaction before you make another $12 transaction that actually does what you want it to do.
Understood. And what about HHC 04? And what was it described as? Token distribution from _ Hedron source address.
Yeah, so Hedron has what's called a source address. It's similar in function and role to the hex origin address. And it gets a copy of every bonus that happens in Hedron. And
wait. Okay, so wait. Hedron has. I'm sorry to cut you off. Hedron has what? How did you describe that? A source address?
Yes, it's
and
similar.
Who controls the source address?
It is not disclosed.
Okay. And so the source address gets what?
It receives a copy of any bonus that happens within the Hedron system.
Okay, so all bonuses go to this source address.
Correct.
That's the vulnerability, or I guess that's described with regards to this HHC 04 token distribution to the Hedron source, and I guess you analogize that to the origin, correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay. I think that about does it for. Okay. In terms of immutability of the smart contract, is the collection of these Hedron contracts, are they immutable?
Yes, they cannot be changed in any way.
Okay, so much like the hex contract, they can't be changed.
Correct.
All right. So if there is, I guess, hypothetically, if there's a major vulnerability found in this thing that allows it to be exploited, you can't just come along and then patch it up at a later date. you know, it's effectively, you can't change it. It's set in stone.
Yes, that is true. This is kind of a misnomer in smart contracts. Like in the contract that is committed to chain, yes, you cannot fix it. It is immutable. There's nothing you could do. If there was ever a vulnerability in Hex or Hedron or any other immutable smart contract, you know, there are ways you've seen other smart contracts like fix those kinds of issues where they create wrapper contracts that kind of work around any kind of exploits or things like that. So it's not entirely like
Wait,
true.
I'm sorry. You were kind of getting rugged for a second with your mic there. How were you describing the workarounds, like a wrapper or something like that?
Yeah, like there's been other immutable smart contracts in the past where they found vulnerabilities at some point, and their solution was to write a wrapper contract around it, which isolated that particular vulnerability from being exploitable. So it's like not entirely true that an immutable smart contract can't be fixed. It can't in the sense that you can't go in there and edit the code. Like it's locked, it's done. But if you were to add like some kind of wrapper around it, that will increase gas costs because now you have another shell that you have to interact with. You can kind of fix it that way. You could also fork the state, right? It's saying, okay, huge vulnerability, let's take a snapshot of everything everyone had and make a new one. So, you know, I'm kind of, it's true on one sense that you can't fix an immutable smart contract, but the idea that immutable smart contracts can never be resolved if there is a vulnerability is kind of, I guess, a misnomer that the community likes to assume.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Because you know, I was doing some research on, you know, the whole immutability issue with Solidity smart contracts and so on and so forth. But I think you did a pretty good job of explaining that. Thank you for that. In terms of other audits, so you just, I guess, commissioned the one security audit. Do you have any other security audits planned, or it's just this one?
There's no currently planned audits.
Okay.
This was good enough in our opinion.
What about any economic audits of the contract, or just the workflow of the contracts?
So there were no real economic questions. This is kind of like the weird thing. Like if you look at the Hex's economic audit, like its primary intention of the audit is ensuring that on a level playing field that, you know, longer pays better under all circumstances, you know, assuming the playing field is level. You know, that was the real question they wanted asked with that audit. And what that audit essentially does is establish the fact that the share rate functions as intended. So almost every aspect of Hedron leverages the share rate from Hex. Because Hex already has that economic audit, we can be certain that the share rate does what we all believe it to do. And so Hedron's able to just leverage the fact that the share rate exists and does function and is audited to derive all of its math, in which makes Hedron actually quite simple mathematically and doesn't necessarily demand an economics audit. It's not something I'm like super opposed to in the future if people really, really want to see one, but we would need to figure out like what particular aspects of Hedron people want to see audited, right? Because when you do an economics audit, you can't just say, I want the whole thing economics audited to whether it's good or not. They don't really do that. You really need to like have a provable case for a specific use of the contract that's fixed, and that is something you can have audited.
Understood. So you're saying it can't be like a blanket, oh, does this contract work like it's laid out in the white paper? You have to take it piecemeal sort of thing?
Yeah, it's like the Hex audit, Hex economic audit is really about, we want to ensure that longer always pays better on a level playing field, right? And what I mean by level playing field, it's like longer always pays better, but if we go back to the adoption amplifier days and one guy gets on day 1 and another guy gets in on day 30, and the day 30 guy gets Hex for, you know, 20x lower the price, so they have a ton more hex, and then they stick shorter. Well, technically, in that situation, shorter did better than longer from the other guy because they got more hex for less initial cost. So, like, the economics audit isn't there to prove that, like, longer pays better in every single circumstance that anyone could ever be in. It's just there to say that in a level playing field where you have two equal guys and they're saying, hey, you can, with one of the guys stick shorter, one guy stick longer, and the other guy's recycling the stakes, the longer actually performs better on a mathematical level.
Just thanks for sharing that. Just FYI, I think Richard Hart is live right now. I don't know, it just popped up and I saw him live. So if I appreciate you answering those questions. I'm personally probably going to go over and see what's going on there. But yeah, if people want to join that or keep going here.
Hex is the way. If you want to make me a co-host, you can, or whoever, famous.
Yeah, I have a brief statement if I'm allowed to speak.
Speak.
Yes, CryptoBit, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and, this past Saturday, 3 a.m. East Coast time, you came into this room here and pretty much blasting Hedron as a security, no questions asked.
My next point. So we're about to get to that. If
I'll make it real.
That layer of questions.
I'll make it real quick. And I when you were doing so, I immediately jumped in and tried to, in a nutshell, just say, hey, how about you talk to him first before you come in here and, bash the product and him and everything else. And that's fine. Alex is a stand-up guy. He's brilliant. He's doing nothing but positive things for the Hex community, as it's been shown, as the audit it's been shown. It's quite unfortunate that, number one, you don't understand the full definition of immutability, which is kind of important in this space. Secondly, in terms of the audits, you're not up to breast on how a crypto audit works. And Alex clearly explained to you how they work and why they do work that way. I just
wait. Let me cut you off right there.
I just would like you to make an apology. That's all.
No, it's not even that. I mean, clearly you've never taken a deposition before, because what we do when we take people is you ask them questions and then have them talk and then build a record, and then you have a record of things that were said, and then you parse that record in the future after you have all the facts laid down, and then separate fact from fiction, apply law to fact, and then get down to what's what.
Sure.
Right?
And you shouldn't have jumped the gun and called it a security before you asked
Hey,
the question.
dude.
Okay, real quick. I'm not cutting you off, BitLaw. So don't take this as me cutting you off. RA strategy. We're gonna all stay quiet here. We're letting Crypto, BitLaw, and Hedron talk here. If you'd like to talk, please talk afterwards. I'm sorry, Crypto, BitLaw. I didn't want to cut you off. You can please respond just like you were going to, in the same demeanor that you'd like to. But RA strategy. If I hear you talk like that again, I am gonna remove you off there. We're trying to have this discourse, and we were all really enjoying the Crypto, BitLaw, what he was saying, and Hedron's discourse. So, thank you. No disrespect for you guys.
But okay, yeah, we were ultimately building into the questions regarding securities and those sorts of issues. Before we do, I just wanted to ask you a couple more questions about what the role of the LLC is in your mind. What role does that play?
In my mind, like, the LLC really only exists as obviously it has limited liability, so it's a bit of a shield in one way. On the other side of that, there are costs to operating Hedron, and no one directly is investing in Hedron. There's no income, so to speak. So, there needs to be a way in which to offset costs through a taxable tax benefits, more or less. So that's really the only existence for the LLC.
Okay, when you say cost, what type of costs
Well,
what?
someone needs to run the website. There's cost there. Someone needs to run the APIs for hosting all of the NFT art and that kind of stuff. So.
Okay, yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you for answering that. Okay, so that's the role of the LLC. So the only members are you and this Nikamp guy, right?
Correct.
And it began with a $10,000 investment from you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are there any pre-mined tokens or how? What you said that? Do you hold Hedron yourself?
I do against my personal stakes.
Okay, against your personal stake. So was there any anything that was pre-mined, any sort of, I guess, initial supply that went to, I guess, Samina Tempest's treasury for marketing or anything like that? Any sort of like?
There was
No.
not.
Okay, no. Okay, just only what went to the. How did you describe it? What was
The source address.
The source address. Okay. All right. And this, I guess, gets us to our last round of questions. Are you a security? Is Hedron a security?
Are you asking me that question?
Yes.
No.
Why are you not a security?
Well, if we are to look at the Howie Test, which I think is a pretty well-rounded example. Let me actually find it. I just had this up.
I'll tell you right here. It's a four-part test. 1, an investment of money. 2, in a common enterprise. 3, with the expectation of profit. 4, to be derived from the work of others. We'll go through them one by one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Are people investing money in this? Is there a liquidity pool where people can invest money in USDC or ETH and get Hedron?
I would say that is likely true.
Okay, so yes to the first one. All right, second. Is this a common enterprise? Is it distributed to the point where, hey, this enterprise isn't just between one person in the world. This is now a group of people that are investing in a pool. I guess by definition, almost that's kind of what a liquidity pool is. Would you say that that's correct?
I would say it's not true, actually.
Okay, what?
A liquidity pool is not necessarily one person involved. There are hundreds of people in a liquidity
Exactly. So how wouldn't that be a common enterprise? If there's more than one person.
If there was only one liquidity pool, perhaps.
Well, if there was one person providing liquidity to that liquidity pool, then it wouldn't be a common enterprise. But by definition, since there's more than one person, multiple people, it is, quote, common, and it's an enterprise.
I fundamentally disagree with the statement because you are in a position where you're saying that everyone's position in the liquidity pool is common. Their interest is not common. People provide liquidity on sides that are maybe all Hedron side, maybe all USDC side, maybe with one intention, maybe with a different intention. The liquidity pool could disappear tomorrow. There is no. The liquidity pool is just a function of what other people choose to do. It's code that other people choose to execute on their own computers. There are multiple liquidity pools. Samina Tempest did not even create a liquidity pool in and of itself. I created a liquidity pool out of my own personal funding.
Okay. We'll just take a general definition of common, belonging to or pertaining to the general public. So would you say that in the sense that because this is public, it is common?
Let me find a definition for public.
if we could agree on a definition just for common, outside of legal jargon and all that, Merriam-Webster's defines common as of or relating to community at large, public, known to the community, belonging to or shared by two or more individuals or thing by all members of a group, right? So we're getting kind of vibes of, community at large, more than one individual, two or more, right? So by that standard, would this collection of smart contracts in conjunction with the liquidity pool and the enterprise, it's comprised of more than just one individual, correct? That makes this thing up.
Crypto bit law. Just to try to help back something up here, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but the liquidity pool, it's not established by by the contracts, correct?
Well, I'm pretty sure he said he set up the first liquidity pool.
Yeah, but that's irrelevant.
I did not set up the first liquidity pool. That was somebody else.
Oh, wait, the first one on Hex, right? The first one on Hex was someone else, but
correct.
Okay, so who set up the first one?
I have no idea. Somebody in the community.
Somebody in the community. Okay.
The largest liquidity pool is the USDC. The one that's actively used is the USDC V3 pool, and that was also one I did not create.
But there are more than one participant in that pool.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think my issue with the second leg of the Howie test is, it's not necessarily like we're focusing on the word common, and I believe it's a compound word of common enterprise, and in that situation of a liquidity pool, there is no common enterprise. It may be common in the sense that the community of itself created that liquidity pool of its own volition. But as far as it being a common enterprise, I don't see that being the case.
Okay, let's analyze it from another lens. Samina Tempest LLC created Hedron, as you informed us. Samina Tempest LLC, the members of that enterprise are Alexander, you, and Barrett Nikamp. That's more than one person, that's two. That is a common enterprise, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the third portion is expectation of profit. People don't put money in this thing expecting to lose money, correct? Or they don't do it with the intent. Let me rephrase that. People don't put money into this product intending to lose money.
I personally have no idea. It's stated multiple times within the white paper that you must not have expectation of profit from the work of others. And, if people have expectations, those are expectations they've made themselves, but they must not have them. That's been instructed throughout the entire process of this project's creation. And what people choose to do is not within my control.
Okay, I understand. Okay, with regards to the fourth part, as you informed us, you put in the work to write the smart contract, correct?
Yes, I have.
And you invested $10,000 of your own money into Samina Tempest LLC, which is responsible for creating the smart contract, correct?
I don't necessarily agree with that. Agree with that either. I invested $10,000 of my own money to create a liquidity pool, which hardly anybody uses.
Well, you just told me you didn't create a liquidity pool with the $10,000.
I created a liquidity pool at some point. Yes. Was I the first? No, I was not. I was far from the first. And it's also a liquidity pool that nobody uses. Like, there's a difference between me investing $10,000 into Samina Tempest LLC and a difference between me choosing to go personally create a liquidity pool with my own personal money and with my own personal bags of Hedron that I obtained the same way everyone else obtained through an immutable smart contract by writing the code or by executing the code that everyone else chooses or not chooses to run on their own machines. That, gives them some things at which they can go create liquidity pools with.
But you and Mr. Nikamp filed articles of organization with the Secretary of State in Ohio to create this LLC, which you informed us is behind this smart contract. And then you actually physically wrote the code for this smart contract. So would you say that all of those actions, could we describe that, or could we classify that? Was that effort? Did you expend effort in working towards those actions and achieving those goals?
Sure. I personally put some effort into writing a contract and doing some things, and attributed the copyrights of those things to Samina Tempest LLC. But those are all things that were done before there was an investment of money. There's no more work to be done. It is complete.
Understood. All right. So you said earlier that one of the reasons why you guys formed Samina Tempest is a liability shield, right? What sort of things do you think you would need liability from?
Not working.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on.
Does everybody hear me?
I can hear you. I think we're waiting on. I think Hedron might have gotten rugged.
Yeah, I'm just making sure.
Yeah, he got rugged. I'm sending him back up here.
Rugged. Sorry about that.
Hey, are you back? Can you hear us?
Yep, all good.
I think the last question I was asking you. So, previously, I asked you about the creation of Samina Tempest LLC and your reasons for forming that, and you informed us that one of the reasons was to have a liability shield. And I was trying to inquire, what sort of things or actions do you feel like you would need a liability shield from?
Well, Samina Tempest's practical entire role is just to be a company which runs websites, and there are risks with putting websites out on the internet. There are regulations and PCI compliance and things like that, and it's primarily just from the risk of, providing public information.
Can you hear him, CryptoBitLaw?
I couldn't hear a thing. Could you guys hear any of that?
I didn't.
Yeah, I heard it.
Is that any better?
Yeah, I think you're clearer now.
Okay.
If you could repeat that. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, man.
Yeah, so Samina Tempest's entire role is to essentially be responsible for the hosting of whatever websites may be deemed relatable or not relatable to Hedron. It hosts many. And its liability on there is just it simply being a web host.
I don't think we can have expectations from the work of his mic at this point, Bitlaw. I think we need to drop out.
Need to drop out and come back.
I mean, I'm sure it couldn't hurt. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't. It's all mumbled. I can't hear a thing.
Thank you for all the work you're putting in, Crypto Bitlaw. I'm just saying, this is boy, I think I found my lawyer.
No, I mean, I really appreciate
Really?
Alex.
Okay, session re-adjourned. He's
Yep, he's coming up.
He needs a microphone. Yes, please.
Any better?
Okay.
Let's give it one last shot, man.
All right. Is this any better?
For now it is. Let's give it a whirl. See how it rolls.
Okay. So Samina Tempest's role is simply being a web host and managing the actual hosting of various websites, both Hedron and non-Hedron related.
Your mic sounds terrible, dude.
All
right, hey, whenever you do this, man, you gotta exit out of the space. You can't just drop down to a listener and then come back as a speaker. You have to actually exit the space and then come back in.
See, now this is what I'm thinking. This is his way of protecting himself. You know, it's the Twitter space. Twitter space is helping him.
There's nothing he needs to protect himself from. He's doing everything right.
I think it's a cool cross examination. It's awesome. helps everyone else to understand what's going on. Please proceed. Is he back as well?
Once he comes back, I'll put him up here. But Crypto Bitlaw, I definitely want to hear what your thoughts are at the moment, unless you want to just heed until we hear this last response.
Yeah, I'd like to, if we could finish this up. I think this is the last question or two that I have for Mr. Alex.
Okay.
If you'd like to come back up. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Alex. I appreciate it.
Is this any better?
It's kind of like cutting out. You're kind of going all like matrixy on me.
I can try dropping off.
All right, maybe you're gonna have to like close out the app and then come back in.
Yeah,
kinda. Fuck, I can't hear shit. All right.
How are we looking?
Good.
Okay. Let's hope this works out a little better.
Now it's worse.
Yeah, dude, your mic fucking shit the bed. Try exiting out of the app and then re-down.
I've done that. I'm gonna restart the phone.
Bet, right on.
Restart your phone. The effort, yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely still be here, man.
Yeah, restart your phone completely. Restart your phone.
But I heard the first two answers. I was hearing every word or he was talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, I was hearing everything loud and clear too.
Yeah.
I wasn't. Yeah, it sounded like the Matrix to me.
Yeah.
I had issues too.
Me too.
My question is, does a royalty classify as a security?
Royalties?
Yes.
As securities?
Apples and oranges.
yeah, I think we're yeah, and I mean not a royalty in the traditional sense that you would make from, I mean, this isn't legal advice, but like let's say you were to make a song and then your record label or publisher were to pay you a royalty on that. That's not a security in my book. But
all right, cool.
If we could wrap up this last question with Mr. Alex, that'd be great.
Yo, as soon as he comes in, I'm ready to shut the fuck up.
Oh, I see that he's in. I guess he's not up as a speaker yet.
I think he's trying to reboot his phone, Crypto Bitlaw. I deeply appreciate you coming into the space tonight.
No, I'm glad to be here. I'm really thankful for him to, not many founders would sit down and ask, answer this level of questions, and I really appreciate his transparency. I think we need more of it in the space.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree. That's one of the things that I deeply admire about Alex. He's been with us for hours on end, responding to questions. Hey, Alex, are you there?
Is this any better?
yeah, I think it sounds better. So do you remember that last question, or do you need a refresher? Or?
Yeah, let's start over with the last one.
Okay. You were kind of matrixing on me again, but I'm just gonna ask it and just hope for the best. Okay. So earlier on in our discussion, I asked you about the reasons for forming Samina Tempest LLC, and you informed us that one of the reasons was to create a liability shield from certain actions or otherwise nefarious acts coming back on you. What do you feel like you need to protect yourself? Why have a liability from what? What do you feel like you have to protect yourself from liability?
Samina Tempest's practical entire role is running websites for Hedron, but also other websites, and just being a web host in general, and putting information out on the internet has a liability.
Alex, did you shut your phone off and come back in?
Yes, I did.
All right, we kind of heard it. If you can regurgitate it real quick, that might be good.
Samina Tempest runs the Hedron website among other websites. It's practically just a web host shell company, and there's a liability associated with publishing information to the internet.
So pretty much what you just said, because it cut out for 90% of the people, was Samina Tempest was just there for what you guys were putting liability for hosting a website.
Correct.
All right, so just the websites, nothing else.
So I'm not sure there's any other liabilities that exist.
Are you concerned about getting any sort of lawsuit against you or anything, or your company?
No.
All right, cool. Well, I think that pretty much does it for me. Before I hand it over, I wanted to thank you so much for coming here and answering all of these questions and giving transparency to the whole community. It takes a lot of guts and a lot of fortitude to come here and answer this level of questions. And for that, I really thank you. You are a brilliant mind, and I really appreciate what you build. I wish I had the same level of solidity knowledge that you do, because I'd be knee deep in the contracts, trying to parse them out and actually verifying what's going on there. But I'm too busy practicing and hanging out with the rest of the goofballs in this Twitter space to actually get down to it. But before I let you go, man, I really wanted to thank you for coming in here and answering all of these questions. Nothing but love, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, Crypto Bit Law, based on the Q&A, what is your assessment without pinning you down to legal advice? Is it something that you would invest in?
As I was telling you guys the other night, at this point, before I forgot to ask you one question. I'm assuming your background. Are you a programmer by trade, Hedron or Alex?
Yes, I mean, so to speak, I do like system administration.
How many years of Solidity programming experience do you have?
Oh, maybe one. Like, this is kind of like my first major stab at Solidity.
This is your first major project?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you haven't been involved with any other Ethereum or Solidity projects?
No, I mean, I've done a lot of work for the past 12 years in like other languages, but this is the first one in Solidity.
Okay.
I don't know what it is about your mic there, but
yeah,
I don't know if it's just me.
I do work like in other languages as a day job. That's how I make a living. but this is my first Solidity project.
Your core, bread and butter, is programming. Are you like a full stack dev, or like a back end engineer, or like a senior dev, or something like that?
I'm a CTO for an undisclosed company.
Okay, so a CTO. All right. I think that pretty much has it for, all my questions. I guess back to Collector's point. At this point, I guess with airdrops in general, you have nothing to lose by free claiming these things. You're not really giving up much of anything in order to get your free claim. In terms of actually investing precious capital, it's two main reasons I wouldn't do that at this point. One, the macro market picture is so volatile right now with what's going on with the Ukraine thing, the gas, the labor shortages, the COVID shit, all of that crap. We have yet to see how this is going to play out in terms of, inflation, how it's going to affect markets. We don't know if, the overall total market cap is going to go down to 1 trillion or shoot up to 4 in terms of crypto. So, it could go either way. So at this point, I'm very risk off. So, I'm just kind of holding on to blue chips and stacking cash, while I decide what the hell is going to do next. And I'm waiting for some sort of confirmation. Secondly, I guess it's twofolded in terms of the second piece. I guess there are two subsections. As he informed us, yes, this is his first major Solidity project, right? And so it's still, we had one audit, right? But even projects that had major audits, like Wormhole Bridge, we're talking billion-dollar teams. There were exploits found in these things, and they were, rugged essentially for $500 million until the devs came, not the devs, but the CEOs, CTOs, so on and so forth, came and bailed these things out, right? So, these are people that have been in this game for years and years and years and have hundreds of millions of dollars, and those things got rugged and exploited. Even further beyond that, I, in my own personal opinion, it's kind of like, Famous brought up the other day, talking about Hex, or not Hex, but Pulse. It's kind of like, when we look at Pulse, if we don't beat around the bush, everybody and their mother knows this thing is an ICO. It's just like, it's like the first rule of Fight Club. We don't talk about it. We don't, quote, expect profit from the work of others, but we'd be kidding ourselves not to actually look at something like Pulse and be like, this isn't an ICO. It clearly is an ICO. And Richard's smart in how he did it.
Such foolish.
You don't expect profit from the work of others, essentially using the language of the law against itself in order to try to create a shield. But that doesn't always work. I've practiced enough and been in front of enough courts that where if there's something and a judge senses, or the opposing party senses that something doesn't quite pass the smell test, they're going to eke it out. And even if the law doesn't comport with what that judge or that opposing party is trying to do, they're going to find a way to make it work, right? And there is a whole body of jurisprudence that plays up just to similar sorts of situations like this. I think Richard, what he's got going for him is the fact that he's out in Europe, so he's got at least one layer of separation between himself and American jurisdiction. But contrast that with someone like Do Kwon, where he actually created a stable Kwon. He is a South Korean national operating out of Singapore. When he stepped foot onto American soil, his ass got served by the SEC, and he's joking about thinking that he's going to avoid jurisdiction of the United States. That ain't happening. We have an extradition treaty with Singapore. We have an extradition treaty with South Korea. They're going to bring you here. They're going to get you, and they could throw you in jail, like what happened to Elizabeth Holmes. She's going to jail, right? Like we were talking about with Elon Musk. His ass got fined millions and millions of dollars, and now he's under a settlement that he's trying to get out of because he's the richest dude in the world. So try to.
Sorry to interrupt. I had a question in between here. Are you a prosecutor?
Dude, we got a bunch of
people
with our hands up, Parkway.
Lord. Sorry,
Waiting.
my bad.
Yeah,
we're waiting with our hands up, Parkway.
Hey, Parkway, please hold up. Trap, if you'd put your hand back up, I'd appreciate it, man. I just wanted to finish this line with Crypto Bit Law. I deeply appreciate everybody's patience tonight, and I appreciate the Alex and also Crypto Bit Law. Crypto Bit Law. The one thing is that the geopolitical risk has nothing to do with the contract. So that's
No. That's just me
yeah.
personally in terms
No,
of where we are
no, and I deeply
economically.
appreciate that. Yeah, and I deeply appreciate that. And also, the other night, you also indicated that claiming appears to be a non-risk type of event.
Agreed. Yeah,
Yes.
nothing wrong. And you
Yeah.
as an individual, an investor or whatnot, I don't know, however, whatever legal label we want to put on it.
Yeah.
Individuals don't have liability.
Yeah.
Despite the quote liability shield of Samina Tempest, I've seen this time and time again, where people will try to set up an LLC or whatnot. Oh, well, it means limited liability, and then they can't get to me or my personal assets because I have this company. No, I mean, so many times courts will permit a plaintiff or a class or the government to do what's called piercing the corporate veil. And they'll pierce right through the liability, quote, shield and go right to the individual defendants with the natural personhood. And then they'll rope them into the fray. And then they'll go after the personal assets. They'll garnish wages, do whatever. You are now personally liable for the acts or omissions of the business entity.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you articulated the same thing to us this past weekend. And the other point is that based on your Q&A with Alex and everything, there's nothing there except for what your personal concern would be for you to go ahead along with the contract. And it appears more so not to be an issue of legality, but an issue of experience and a possible another security audit, not a legal issue. Is that correct? Not trying to pin you down.
No. I just had a notification.
That is a question, and Trap did have his hand up, Collector.
No, I was sorry.
We let Collector talk.
Okay. Yeah, I was reading a notification on my phone that popped up. Yeah. Well, my main concerns are the lack of experience in terms of the smart contract. B, okay, even if it is deemed a security, the smart contract's out there. The thing's going to keep running, right? Unless the government finds a way to actually clamp down on that. Most of the liability lies with Alex and Samina Tempest and his business partner. They're the ones that are, shouldering all the liability, right? So it's the same thing. If Richard dies or if he goes to jail, the contract's out there. You could just make another front end, right? So there's that, but that's just my take on it.
I appreciate that, Crypto Bit Law. Hey, Alex, you go ahead, and then I'm gonna be quiet and allow the rest of the room to go, and I'll let you take care of that, Turtle God.
Steak had his hand up first, but Alex, go.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that. Yeah, I'm not really like Samina Tempest doesn't exist as like believing in the sense that it can shield like you can't shield someone from doing something illegal through like an LLC. You can't. There's a lot that could happen that just tags you personally. I'm very familiar with that. It's mostly existing just as a way of being able to offset the expense of having to run websites and things like that. And and when it comes to securities law, like I'm definitely not going to profess to be an expert in that, but there is no ICO. There's no more work to be done as far as the contract's concerned. You don't even have to use the website. You can go to Etherscan and do it if that's what you want to do. So we're in a weird regulatory place with
I agree with that, but I think one major difference between the way that Hex was constructed as opposed to yours, it's like you told us that you wrote the contract, correct?
Correct.
All right. And so the contract lays out who the not the origin address. What did you call it? The
source address.
The source address is, right? All right.
Correct.
I think that if someone were to, prosecute and push down on that, that would just kind of give more fuel to their fire in order to try to prove up, elements of, securities violations. That's just, from an outside perspective looking in, right?
Sure.
And so, I mean, that's just the way I think what you did is brilliant, man. I like it, and I've had similar, ideas. It's just I've spent enough time, working in and for Johnny Law to know that, I mean, when these motherfuckers come down, they come down hard. And they get people, and anytime I analyzed a lot of what's going on in the crypto space, 10 ways till Sunday, I'd look at it, with me and my lawyer friends, and we'd sit around and be like, that is clearly a security. All of these different ideas, these are clearly securities. But I don't know. I think it's like you said, it's a quickly evolving regulatory landscape. Hopefully we get some sort of regulatory clarity from the XRP case. Maybe with this executive order coming down from Biden, we'll actually kind of, start the process of, governmental research, and then maybe actually have a crypto czar, and they'll actually kind of build the columns and the foundation of what regulation is to look like. Because I think the one thing that markets don't like is uncertainty. They'd rather have negative news than uncertainty is the main thing. So I tip your hat to you. I tip my hat to you and your ambition, man. You got balls of steel, and I thoroughly appreciate that.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you coming on here and talking about it. Like, it's one of these weird things where it's like, we have no idea, really. But, like, if you want to just go on historic behavior, like, ICOs are a security, right? Like, we know that for a fact. The SEC goes after all of them, for the most part. Outside of that, we don't really have a clear picture of what the SEC decides is and is not a security as far as crypto is concerned. There's a lot of nuance and a lot of weird things that just don't exist in traditional finance.
%. Yeah. It's definitely there's a lot of gray area, and it's fast evolving. But hopefully we get some clarity. But I really thank you again for coming on here and having a nice, cordial, respectful discussion. I think the world needs a lot more of these types of things for the sake of truth and honesty and transparency. I tip my hat to you again, good sir.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. So they just finished up their discourse and stuff like that. It was great. Hey, thank you, Crypto BitLaw. Thank you, Hedron. Hey, thank you, Collector Mind, for having all these guys out here right now. So pretty much when it comes to crypto right now, we're operating in the gray. All right. But do we want to sit by and wait for the SEC to make some lawsuit on Ripple that's been going on for fucking years, But so right now, I think the best time is to build. But with Crypto BitLaw's first thing, he said his first law was why he didn't want to invest was FUD. All right, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And everybody knows that investing in a project early is what nets you the most capital. All right, we see it time and time again. That's why fucking people hate shitcoins, because by the time you hear about a shitcoin, guess what? It already 10,000x, 100,000x, did all of this fucking massive gains. And you're like, why the fuck would I buy this shit now? I know everybody just made life changing money. And now, bam, I'm going to buy in, and then I'm going to be down to fucking zero. All right. So we always know whenever it comes to crypto, being the first mover average always fucking wins. And that's why we see Bitcoin at fucking $40,000 right now. And then we have people buying in, and now they're down, 20, 30, 40 fucking percent. Second, what was the second one? Crypto BitLaw, what was the second one? What was your second one?
The inexperience with regards to Solidity development.
So, inexperience. Perfect. All right, we see it time and time again. How many contracts did Vitalik Buterin write before he ended up writing Ethereum?
He didn't write Ethereum. He wrote the white paper. Gavin Wood developed Ethereum.
All right, so same thing. How many
Different things.
Yeah, but how many cryptocurrencies did Gavin Wood put out before Ethereum was over? Anybody got an answer?
Well, they were working on
0.
colored coins. No. I mean, they were working. There were ones before, like, the main inspiration for Ethereum was something called colored coins, right? And so all of these cypherpunks and these OG hackers were deeply involved in the space. There was even that one Hash Cash. You remember that one back in the day? So
Yeah.
all of these dudes, they were kind of tramping around, going to these libertarian festivals, doing similar sort of work. And the first one that really got any sort of legs as a smart contract platform was Ethereum.
All right, exactly. So first mover average, bam, Ethereum took the fuck off. All right. So being early in a project, whether it's crypto or anything like that, go out there and build. The only time the SEC is going to come in trying to fuck you is once you start to make some actual economical mass in the game of crypto. That's whenever they're like, oh shit, we need to fucking figure this out. So stop trying to sit around and wait for all these people to fucking tell you, oh, you need to pay this tax, you need to do this, you need to do that, blah, blah, blah. Get in early whenever it's technology, space, or base coins and stuff like that, crypto and all this shit. First mover average is the one that always wins because that's all they do in the stock market. Why do you think fucking Nancy Pelosi's fucking portfolio is at 74, 64% or something? Like, that's because she has first mover average to everybody. All we're doing is taking out the DAOs.
She has insider trading, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, we're taking out the DAOs, we're taking out the launch pads. Our community is going to build and grow, and we're going to fucking destroy as soon as we have Pulse Chain as a layer one to fucking build upon. So, like, dude, stop worrying about all this shit. They're only going to come to you once we're fucking billionaires, once we're millionaires and shit like that. Everybody's worried about this, brass tacks. Oh, it might be a security. It might be this. Yeah, all right, cool. I got to pay your 15% or I got to pay your fucking 27%. Yo, go fuck yourself. All right, I got fucking billions in the bank. Yo, keep building Hedron. You guys are doing a great fucking thing, man. Yeah, we're going to have fucking lawyers and shit. We're operating in the gray right now. But that's why we're in this fucking space, because we got fucked over by legacy finance and shit like that. So Crypto BitLaws, like, first one was like, oh, I'm only going to, go into blue check chips and stuff like that. Yeah, blue check is great, getting that 2%. That's like investing in a Roth IRA with your fucking, oh, cool, I can retire when I'm fucking 59 years old. That's what blue chips are. They have a steady growth on an incline going up, and that's what everybody's used to. Let me
All right,
work.
real quick, Steak. Could you get to the point on this particular part? I think right now you're kind of just dragging on, and there's really no point that I'm hearing here besides that this whole conversation shouldn't have been had. But I think that we actually gained a good bit of information. If anything, this strengthens Alex's ideals because he's going to have to come at people later on. Even Richard had mentioned that, sure, it doesn't matter if it's a security in the end because what? EOS launched and it was an ICO. What they do? Paid a fee. So if anything, this was a good discourse for Alex to get the start of it and the hedge on it. So, I mean, the discussion of if it's going to be a security or not, sure, that comes later on to the people who are developing it. But when people are creating their own coins, when they are creating their own companies, when they're creating their own NFTs, I mean, dude, you made your own NFT. So I think that this is a really good learning experience for people who are doing this. So is there a point that you're trying to make here?
Yes. So I was getting ready to wrap it up as soon as you cut in, and I was getting ready to say, like, Roth IRAs, the traditional finance and stuff like that is work your ass off for 30 years and then you can retire with $1 million. Yeah, that sounds cool now, but 10 years later, that $1 million doesn't really net you much. So whenever it comes to tech and stock and stuff like that, this shit's shooting up. All you got to do is pick the right one and then bam, you win. And now you're retiring at 5 years rather than fucking 30 years. So yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. I was just like, I was getting there. And you cut me right there, but I mean, no, definitely. I mean, I definitely talk a lot. So my bad. All I'm saying is this is a faster path to financial freedom rather than going with the traditional route and, hey, I'm going to work till I'm fucking 60 years old and I'm going to retire. And then I got Social Security and then I got my, Roth IRA netting me, a couple grand. And then, yeah, you know what I mean by now.
Perfect.
Can I go now?
Eloquently put.
Thank you.
Look, I just wanted to tell Alex, whenever we first had this discussion on Saturday night, me and Crypto BitLaw, a couple other people were in here. You could look at your DMs. We messaged you to invite you, because we didn't want to talk behind your back or without you being able to defend yourself. But when it came up, I mean, you got to understand how the Twitter Spaces work. Something comes up, we're like, hey, let's get them in here so they can chime in. You can look at your DMs, sent you a message. Mad respect for you. You've kind of set the example, in my opinion, on how to approach, new projects built on Hex and future stuff, like how to handle the Twitter Spaces. You're always here, like tonight. You're here. We wish you could have been there Saturday night, but it was late. It was like 2 a.m. So I mean, I completely understand that you didn't show up. But another thing too is me and Kiefer were in a Sandstorm Space, and these are a bunch of people involved in a bunch of shit coins and stuff like that, and with a bunch of whole zeros in front of it. And I actually promoted Hedron because I told him, I said, look, if y'all want to get in on something early with a bunch of zeros in front of it, why not get in on something that's built on the best performing asset of 2021? I mean, it's extremely early, so we kind of shielded your shit tonight. But I just want to make sure you know that when we first had this discussion, we reached out, and so mad respect for you though. So
yeah, this week honestly been hectic, for obvious reasons. But I did see you guys invite me. Wasn't able to make that, but I like to make this one and talk about Hedron and talk about all sorts of things. And if there's anyone else out there who's thinking about making a Solidity contract, I can't profess to be an expert of any sorts, especially not with the legal side. But I think ICO bad. Don't do that.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming here. Look, you've rocked it with us whenever we talked about Hedron. Then when we dropped Hedron and we're talking about other shit, you were rocking with us like Hexicans do. So mad respect to you. I just wanted to make sure like, I didn't want nothing to come back and be like, oh, they were talking about this the other night. It's like, hey, we reached out,
Oh, no. Yeah.
because we respect you. We respect you. So thank you, bro.
That's why, we wanted you. We just transparency, man. You've been nothing but forthcoming in everything, and that is completely admirable and respectable.
Hey, brother, there is one thing I want to mention because I don't want to spread FUD or anything like that. And that was mostly the main reason that I was wanting to talk to you more than anything. So do you guys get a royalty whenever a stake is transacted on OpenSea? Because I know OpenSea takes, 2.5, and then I saw that your white paper said you guys take 15%. And then I went and actually looked into your contract and looked into, I was trying to find that 15%, because whenever I transact NFTs, I can go into my contract and I see it, but I don't see it in yours. But I also, somebody told me that it was in the light paper. I haven't went and looked at it specifically, and I don't want to spread misinformation.
Yeah, so this is like the fun thing about NFTs, right? NFTs are traditionally not immutable, right? You have the ability to go into, if you create something on OpenSea, you have the ability to go in and change all your royalties and what people are able to buy and sell things for. It's like the idea of an immutable NFT practically does not exist. So to be compatible with marketplaces, you have to expose a royalty. You have to. Your NFT contract can't not do that. You'll break your compatibility with most marketplaces if you do that. So the lowest you can possibly, like Rarible will take anything, OpenSea will take anything, but then you look at like ones that use, I forget the EIP, but there's a standardization for it that's outside of like Rarible's implementation. And a lot of those have like a minimal decimal resolution, and that ends up being 0.15. So the Hedron contract suggests to the marketplace that the royalty should be 0.15%. The marketplace does not have to enforce that. Some do, some don't. So it'll just go up to whether the marketplace enforces it or not.
So pretty much what I just heard, you're cutting out a little bit, still a little fuzzy, but it's 0.15. It's not 15.0. It's 0.15.
Yeah, 0.15.
Hey, thank you very much. And I mean, hey, I was all for about you getting paid. So I was like, yo, it's 15%. Yo, this dude just built some badass shit. He probably deserves 25 fucking percent. I don't give a shit, you know. But I heard it was like, 15%, and then I know OpenSea automatically takes 2.5. So I thought it was 17.5 that was getting removed from you trading a stake back and forth. So I was very confused that's why I wanted to ask you specifically. So hey, thanks for the honesty and stuff like that. So it's 0.015. All right, cool. Glad I cleared that up.
As a point onto that, if these are being held, so they're NFTs that are held on OpenSea, correct?
No, so this is kind of like into the weird nuance of how these marketplaces work. So the users hold them in their own wallets, right? They're their NFTs. And then what you do is you effectively make an approval to a proxy contract, which OpenSea kind of controls. Like you create that proxy contract, but OpenSea has like an admin right to it, more or less. And you give that proxy contract permission to trade your NFT for you. So when that proxy contract, this is an OpenSea and Rarible's case. Other marketplaces operate differently, but considering those are the two big ones, those are really the only two I care about at the moment. So those two proxy contracts have to like agree. Yours and the buyers have to agree and match each other in signature, and part of that signature is a royalty that goes to the NFT creator, and you have to put something there on most marketplaces, or else you break their marketplace and you can't trade the NFT.
Well, I guess that's my ultimate concern with I guess counterparty risk as it relates to centralized NFT marketplaces. When there's this proxy contract involved, that the centralized marketplace plays, I guess, as you put it, a vital role in. To me, it feels like it's not truly DeFi in the sense that if you had a completely DeFi NFT marketplace that wasn't centralized, like something that could be developed on Pulse Chain, that would eliminate that realm of counterparty risk. Because as we've seen before with OpenSea, they just straight up shut off Venezuelans from access to their platforms and just pretty much nuked certain accounts that were geolocated to IP addresses that originated from, I guess, these sanctioned countries or what have you.
Yo, that's a great point, Crypto Bit Law. So whenever it comes to the NFT space and stuff like that, there are not a lot of front ends that are available. So guess what? If you go to Alex's wallet, Hedron's wallet, and then you go and try to buy that NFT, all you're going to see is a serial number that is loosely related to a JPEG that's hosted on IFPS, because that's what an NFT contract essentially is. Alex just brought a whole bunch of fucking functionality and stuff like that. So in the NFT space, people like to buy NFTs based on their pictures, based on, how many people they got on Discord, how many people they got on Twitter and stuff. He took all of that bullshit out of there and now it's based off a denomination of a value that is actually encapsulated into that NFT. So he changed the whole fucking game. So like instead of buying a JPEG or something like that, you know, because it has a rarity set at 10% and stuff like that, no, he put a nomination of a value into that contract. So now that's what everybody's basing trading off. That's why I was very curious about that whole royalty fee, because I wanted to know whenever I made that transaction, how much am I negative capital after I make that transaction? Say I make it at market value. All right, cool. But you know, you have somebody deploying a front end OpenSea. All right, they're going to take theirs. All right, there's a royalty in there too. All right, let me make sure I take that. So do I set it at 0.15 now above that, or do I set it at, you know, below it? Where am I trying to do with that ease in that state? So Hedron killed the fucking game whenever it came to NFTs, because really all we have right now is a bunch of front ends that just show you that picture, and people are buying based off that picture. They're not based off the nominal value of that actual NFT. So kudos to you, Hedron. Love you guys.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add here is OpenSea actually is decentralized. In the truest sense of the word, it is. What has happened to OpenSea in the recent hacks has been two things. One is that OpenSea's front end allowed people to do things that it should not allow them to do. So the back end for OpenSea is a system called Wyvern, which is a decentralized exchange similar to Uniswap, except Wyvern does not denominate in ERC20. It denominates in anything for anything. So you could do an NFT for an NFT. You could do 200 USDC for CryptoKitties and the rights to a smart contract for an NFT that represents a house. Like, you can trade anything for anything with Wyvern. It's really cool. But in Wyvern's the system that does all these proxy contracts, and it's actually a very secure system. The thing that OpenSea did incorrectly was that it allowed people to delist something from their website for sale without actually recording on the blockchain that it was delisted for sale, which is how these hacks have gone in on the back end and found these proxy contracts that are still technically on-chain listed for sale, even though the OpenSea website did not display them for sale. So users were under the assumption their NFTs were no longer for sale, when in fact they were actually still for sale because they tried to skate around some gas fees. So that's like, it's like user experience, user UI. Like, OpenSea clearly doesn't care about security on a front-end level as their primary concern, and hopefully that is something that changes in the near future. But there's all sorts of other front ends, like Rarible is also a front end for Wyvern, and it uses a DAO to like distribute some tokens around for people who use it, and it's kind of cool. Does its own thing. There's a lot of front ends for Wyvern. So OpenSea's not the only game in town. They just happen to be the biggest.
Thank you, Hedron. Thank you, Alex. You're a little bit muggy there. You're sounding like Rosie the Robot. We could parse through a little bit of what you were saying. At least I could. Parkway, I heard your question earlier that we kind of skipped over just because we had a bunch of hands up, and I liked your question. So we'll go to you, and then if we don't mind, Collector, if we could go straight to Mary Beth right after Parkway.
Well, Collector had their hand up first, I think, but thank you.
Do you want to go, Mary? I mean, I can wait if Crypto Bit and
Go
Alex can.
Wait, hold on. Oh, as long as Crypto Bit Lawyer is still in here, but keep going.
Yeah, same here. Maybe
All
we
right,
even have the same question here.
All right, folks. Let's just go ladies first right now. Ladies first, okay? We have
Mary.
Collector. We got Collector in here and Parkway, like, a lot. So maybe Mary could share.
My name is Mary Beth, and I wanted to ask permission first. May I ask Crypto Bit Lawyer about this is for the hosts. Because I heard the words copyright and LLCs. Can I ask about like NFTs in general? But if that's okay?
Yeah, you can ask whatever you want. Just on the caveat that nothing said is legal or financial.
Oh, no, for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna be straight up. So like a lot of communities, for some reason come to me because I have a check mark, right? And they'll ask, and then they'll see that I have a marketing background, right? And whenever, they ask me, hey, would you consider helping us with marketing, or, PR or whatever, I I treat them like I would any other business, right? So I have a hard time, the first thing I initially do is like, okay, what are they called? And then I get on Zoom with them because obviously I can't really Google anything, and I see who they are, see what their names are, if I have their emails, and then I start doing the digging, right? So based on what you were saying, Crypto Bit Lawyer, um, yeah, okay, so it should go LLC, not should, sorry. So would I be incorrect if I thought it was a waste of time if a community were not some kind of established entity out of a specific state, and then when it comes to copyrights and trademarks, right? So I'm thinking like, I know that Board Apes, they have it all down, right? They're fine. They have the VC people behind them and all their lawyers, and I don't really research them because I'm like, they're a business. But for 99% of the rest of the community, like, why aren't they treating it like a business? And so I could essentially, not like I ever would, but couldn't I just take, and then everyone has their own, what do you call it? They own the intellectual property rights of individual NFTs,
No,
supposedly.
not necessarily.
Supposedly. I
Certain ones
know, I'm
transfer
aware.
copyright.
Wait, can you repeat that?
Certain ones transfer certain licenses. So I know in Board Ape, you don't necessarily own the copyright per se, but you get a limited license with which
Okay.
to use it.
See, that is a huge difference in itself, right? So a lot of that is not communicated, um, to community members. I guess maybe simply because some people don't understand the differences between like copyright and licensing. And so would it, are communities not, should I label them as they don't know what they're doing if they're not approaching business in that manner? Because I could essentially take some, um, you know, community that hasn't done any of this stuff, like no LLC. I'm like, oh, did you guys trademark this? Because this is really cool. Like, couldn't I just go out and make coloring books and, you know, go to USPTO and do my own thing with them?
It's it's like the age old dichotomy between, being truly decentralized and operating in a DeFi based manner and sacrificing that decentralization for the sake of transparency. So whenever you have transparency, you actually have a front, you have a juridical person, a business entity, more likely than not, that would subject themselves to the jurisdiction of a particular court, right? And so, in order to have a copyright and to hold that copyright or trademark or any of the intellectual property that you would have on source code, NFTs, what have you, you actually have to have someone or something, an individual or a business entity that is actually responsible for that, that can actually go into court and stand for whatever or whatever thing you are copywriting or you are trademarking. And so if you're operating in a truly DeFi sense and you're completely anonymous and you release a project and it's truly anon, you have less of a risk of the SEC coming after you because it's a completely anonymous project. Who are they going to find? But on the flip side, you're going to have a hard time actually getting people to invest in because, when people do their own research, they're going to, okay, who is this team? Who is doing this? Who is behind this? Right? Before they actually throw their money into it. But I guess long story short, in order to have those sorts of intellectual property rights, there has to be some sort of entity whether it's a juridical or a natural person, a business or a person, that has to answer for it and, speak on behalf of those rights.
So, I'm asking this on behalf of the community. Okay, so if they are not an entity, I could essentially, file the name, image, their main image, right? The shape of that thing in their NFT, maybe a couple of the traits or whatever. File that with USPTO under my own name or my own LLC, correct? If they have.
You could certainly try. I know that traditional jurisprudence reveals that whoever creates an object, let's say you take a photograph
With the
or you draw
modicum of
a unique picture.
originality.
Exactly. When you
Yes.
actually create it and, draw it out of an idea in the ether and then put pen to pad and create something, you own the copyright, whether or not you actually go and file with the USPTO for it. So you still have the ability to file for it even after the fact. Right.
Got it.
So you could run into legal liability if you go to try to file a copyright on an NFT that someone created, an anon created, and just assume, okay, hey, there's no face behind this anon NFT. I'm going to try to copyright this. They could come out of the woodwork and be like, hey, you copyrighted my image. I'm going to sue you for damages. And that is a legal liability that you would risk.
So would completely anonymous derivative apes be under scrutiny for doing that?
I think any sort of ape that uses a very similar likeness, and there's a multi-factor test that they use, these balancing tests that courts put out, that's established through a variety of different court cases for everything that isn't statutorily defined. And pretty much it's just a fancy way of saying the court is going to look at this thing and they're going to look at what you created versus the original source image that's under question. And they're going to compare them. And if it looks close enough alike, they're going to say, hey, you violated this person's copyright. I guess consider the following analogy. The Marvin Gaye, who is the guy, Robin Thicke lawsuit with Blurred Lines, where he got sued by Marvin Gaye's estate for using a similar sort of
Blurred line.
Exactly, in his Blurred Lines. It wasn't the same, but it drew enough inspiration from it that the court was, hey, look at it and said, hey, this is close enough.
Yeah, for sure. And then one last question. Well, I guess it wouldn't matter then. Then I was going to ask about jurisdiction, but then I guess that just goes back to the root of it all. So
No. Please ask.
I was like, okay, so if some completely anonymous derivative ape were to be, if the main apes filed a complaint or something like that, I mean, I guess that would be on the main apes jurisdiction, right? Like,
well,
or would go and the
you're talking about
owners, like, or is it the main organization? And then on the other side, are all 10,000 people, liable? For
No. Just the creator, whoever created it. And like, let's say you had an anon project that created a derivative of Bored Ape and they called it Anon Ape, right? And it looked like the Bored Ape and it quacked like the Bored Ape, but it wasn't quite the Bored Ape, just a little bit different. But you did it anonymously and then got all of the ETH fees for minting or whatnot. What would happen is the people that incorporated Bored Apes, or they were the founding members, or they were the members of the LLC, whatever business entity that held the Bored Apes intellectual property, they would file what's known as a John Doe lawsuit against the creator of the Anon Ape. And with that, they would get permission from the court to grant subpoenas to OpenSea and all of the different internet service providers that OpenSea worked with in order to eke out the identity of the individual that actually released that Anon ape. So they would find you.
That's not true, because that just happened to the Mauries. So the Mauries had one feature for a derivative with their rarity, and then the OpenSea delisted them after the lawsuit was complained, and then a lot of people who held Mauries paid about $2,000 for them. They had empty images.
Do you have a case cite on that?
No, I don't. That was literally going around Twitter and TikTok the past 2 weeks. The crypto Mauries, they had one feature that was similar to.
I'm sorry to cut you off. How do you spell Mauries? I'm going to research this.
Fuck, dude. Let me look it up real quick.
One thing, yeah, maybe Collector might be able to chime in.
Yeah, that's Mories. Mauries.
It was literally the first case we've seen with OpenSea so far. Whenever it came to intellectual properties, what they did was a lawsuit was filed, and then OpenSea delisted the Mauries, which, probably multi-million-dollar, NFT project on OpenSea, and then everybody's images were just gone. Like, I saw people on TikTok, they're like, yeah, I paid $2,000 for this crypto Maury, and now it's fucking gone, and all this shit. So we literally just saw this happen about maybe a week and a half ago. And then everybody else, who had Bored Apes and stuff, like Bored Ape derivatives and stuff like that, was all freaking out, So once you hit that economical mass where you start to catch people's attention, that's when things actually happen. So OpenSea, I don't know if they were trying to set a standard, but a lot of people were, so all OpenSea is a front end. They didn't actually mint on that contract. So OpenSea didn't do anything but delist them from that actual marketplace. You can still go buy them on Rarible, fucking all these other NFT marketplaces and stuff like that. But if you go to OpenSea and try to view that actual picture, is delisted from what it was. So, anybody can stand up front end.
But so the Mauries were the defendant in that. They were the ones that created something that was similar to a previously established NFT.
Yeah, it was one trait in their collection, and it had something to do with the artist that worked on one project, blah blah blah. There was a lot of FUD going on, but yes, they had one similar trait to a other NFT project, and that's what caused them to get delisted on OpenSea.
Well, I think that's part and parcel to what Mary and I were talking about. The fact that, I mean, if you're going to even kind of remotely infringe on someone else's copyright or their intellectual property, that's one of the risks you would run. I think that's probably one of the first things that a platform that's hosting that would do. Despite Section 230 protections, what they can do in order to limit their liability as a platform is to delist them. But that doesn't mean that the plaintiff is then cut off from any sort of recourse after the delisting. They can still go after the creators of the Mauries for damages. And I bet that lawsuit is going to continue on, because why stop there? You're winning. Why stop when you're already winning?
Yeah, exactly. And they're going back after OpenSea, because you can still buy and trade them on Rarible and all these other NFT marketplaces, because all NFT marketplaces is a front end, that is hosted to that server. They actually have their contract based off Ethereum and stuff like that. So all you have to do is go find somebody who will connect that, hyperlink to the other hyperlink, and then you have the image of that JPEG. We ran into this problem for, what was it, about a year and a half, and now MetaMask actually will host your NFTs on their NFT platform inside your wallet. So yeah, we see it happen. It's just who's going to set up the front end, who's going to make the example and stuff like that. And OpenSea just set that standard, a week and a half ago, And now everybody's all, fudded out about, intellectual properties and stuff like that, moving forward in the space. I mean, whenever it comes to art and shit like that, you literally have the same artist working on constantly, like to be an artist in this space and stuff, and actually, have enough income where you don't have to work again. You have to be working on like 3, 4, 5 different projects to actually net enough income where you don't actually have to work again. So that's what we keep seeing time and time again. So they make one trait for this NFT project, and then bam, they go over and make a couple more traits for this other NFT project, and then they fuck up and they make the same one for the same project because they thought it looked cool, and then somebody, the founder of that project is like, hey, you mother, hey, that looks just
All
like
right.
mine.
Yeah, you keep. Okay, thanks. Let's go back to Mary.
No, that's okay. I was kind of listening to the discourse, got a little lost, but I was going to it was something about crypto bit lawyer. What were you talking about? It was like the copyright stuff. It was about, it had something. Oh, OpenSea. Someone mentioned, what, can you explain, crypto, what exactly was defendant, versus whomever, who was pulled off OpenSea? Because someone just said OpenSea is centralized or decentralized.
Well, it's a central entity, so whenever they get a subpoena by a court that says, hey, give us either give us these records, or B, we want, if they get an order from a court for an injunction, then they have no choice but to delist a certain collection. I'll give you an example of how.
Before you continue, I'm not, pardon me, I wanted to let people know that I'm asking these questions because there are people who actually want to know the answers and don't know how to ask them, or they're too scared to. So and I know that as a law school dropout, I can use jargon that is not the same jargon as yours, crypto bit lawyer. So I'm hoping to, at least connect the disconnect. So can you first answer OpenSea? Is it centralized or decentralized? Because some people don't know.
Centralized.
Okay, great. And then with this alleged, pulling out of OpenSea, which community was that?
Apparently, it was this Crypto Mores project that had a trait in their NFTs that was similar to another project that was already established.
Okay. Was that other project established on OpenSea as well?
I could only assume.
Okay.
And it doesn't, at that point, it wouldn't even matter because,
right. Okay.
yeah, I mean, the image, it's amorphous. It doesn't matter which platform. You still get the copyright regardless.
So is the first community or whatever, are we referring to the Bored Apes?
We'd have to ask Steak. Do you know, Steak?
What was the question?
In that Mores lawsuit, was it Bored Apes that sued Mores?
No, it was not Bored Apes. It was a different artist. They created, so whenever you always have the main print. So whenever it comes to derivatives and stuff like that, you have the main print, and then you have a whole bunch of attributes or layers, is what they like to call it in the NFT space, that are built on top of it. So whenever it comes to building layers, they always recruit different artists and stuff like that, and a lot of times they use the same exact artist. So the artist that was, doing something for another collection, he came over and was part of this collection, and the layer that he built for this collection was the same. So that's why they got delisted.
So what did you say? Bapes was the person complaining, or the community complaining?
No, I have to go back and look at the lawsuit. I saw it on TikTok. I saw it on Twitter for like a week. I dove into it a little bit. I didn't go, full Discord into it. I haven't heard much of it since.
But it was an NFT community, or was it something in real life?
No, it was an NFT community.
That's interesting, and it wasn't Bored Apes, so I would definitely look. I'm going to go on mute, and people can ask questions while I Google some stuff, because now I have different questions.
Yeah, go on Twitter right now and go in the search bar and look up Crypto Mauries. And as soon as you look up Crypto Mauries, it'll be like, hey, don't worry, we're fighting this lawsuit, blah, blah, blah. You can still buy us on Rarible, you know, blah, 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 all of this stuff back and forth. I watched
Okay. Yeah, so let's go to Parkway. I know you guys have been patient, had your hands up for a long time. Maybe we could get you guys in Parkway Collector, then Hedron.
Thanks. It's awesome to have this situation going where crypto audited Alex, and what it did is it clarified so many things for people that didn't even know that Hedron exists. Right now, they know so many more details, which is they're way ahead of the game now, which is awesome. I wanted to thank you guys for doing that, and Collector for establishing this situation here. One question for crypto is, um, are you a defense lawyer or are you what do you call them?
I was a prosecutor, man.
Prosecutor, exactly. Oh yeah, so you were a prosecutor. I figured the way you asked the questions was more like a prosecutor. Awesome. And for Alex, I had a question. When Hedron obviously is a layer 2 on Hex, where when you tokenize your Hedron, or before you tokenize your Hedron, the Hedron protocol takes the order as placed on Hedron by the customer and applies that then to Hex. Hex writes the contract. Then when then the tokenization happens, the ERC 721 gets then reassigned to the NFT contract. Is that correct?
Yeah, it gets a little complicated in the implementation, but basically you have the hex contract, and when you create an encapsulated stake, what you are doing is you as the user are calling a function within Hedron and paying the gas for it, which will essentially spin you up your own smart contract, which you natively own at first, and fill that smart contract up with your own hex, and that smart contract is pre-programmed on creation to initialize a stake as you, the user, define it. So that you are basically creating that whole thing and paying for it with your gas. When you tokenize it as an NFT, instead of that contract being mapped to you, you are then paying some gas, creating your own NFT token, and the contract's ownership gets mapped to that NFT token. So the NFT in and of itself is now the owner of this encapsulated stake. So as you move the NFT around, whoever holds it at any given time can pay some gas and run the function which will break the NFT's ownership and assign it to them. So it essentially becomes whoever owns the NFT intrinsically owns the stake.
The contract, yeah, awesome. Now back to crypto. I have a question for you. I think it's a question me and Steak and Apes went a little bit back and forth on. Art itself, we know like that super wealthy people, in order to avoid tax, they go and buy art. NFTs, if they contain art, a digital art that is, we saw an NFT being sold for $64 million. What I'm trying to say is, in this scenario, Hedron, it encapsulates a staking contract. At the same time, if they would create rarities on the NFT itself, would that be considered art? And is that something that would fall into the same category as buying art with including a stake? that generates profit?
Well, I guess you could define art. I guess that's in the eye of the beholder. You know, I think even more so when you start encapsulating it into these NFTs. I mean, to me, it looks eerily like a security, you know, especially when it takes the form of these NFTs. You know, that's not to say that I wouldn't invest in it once it's on Pulse Chain, and you know, we had a decentralized NFT marketplace to get into it, but I, you know, you could classify things. I guess it depends on how you're trying to classify it, for what purpose, whether it's for you know, taxable events or whatnot. If you're trying to get write-offs for that, I don't know what the reason behind trying to classify it as art is.
Yeah, because this is the big question, right? Because with Hedron, once your stake is over, you're forced to burn your NFT. So all of a sudden, the art disappears, right? That NFT gets destroyed. The contract gets released, right? And then
I think you're conflating the idea of an NFT with the popular perception that NFTs are, you know, a bunch of JPEG monkey pictures and things like that. I mean, the NFT at its core, you know, I knew this guy Simon that presented an EIP that got accepted. He's Simon Tan, I think was his name or whatnot, and this Chinese developer. And what it did is it evolved a new layer of functionality to NFTs such that you could use them as coupons, right? So it had a NFT effective date. You could have them be effective on a certain date, and then an expiration date. So, you know, it's going to be valid from March 1st through March 8th, and then it's no longer valid. So you could look at NFTs as more than just art. If you look at the root of what the word is, non-fungible token, it's just, you know, if we could exchange token for something like coupon, right? That is an NFT. I know one brew pub out in Colorado released an NFT where if you hold the NFT, you could come drink for free every day at the brew pub from the time they open from the time they close, with like a limit of 15 drinks, and that NFT was transferable. So it's the idea that NFTs are more than just traditional art, in the sense that we have JPEGs and monkey pictures, right? And then that's kind of where you kind of blur the lines of, okay, now that we're building this new amalgamation of different ideas and concepts into this new paradigm, what is that becoming? You know, are they securities? Is it art? You know, how are we going to transfer them? Decentralization, all of these different considerations.
So would you say that decentralization is the key that would unlock any issue down the road?
I'm saying decentralization is the key to pretty much everything, and you know, and it's when something's truly decentralized, right? You answer to no one. It's kind of like Napster back in the day. You know, they're these record companies, they're playing whack-a-mole, but you can't shut down all of the individual nodes in the system, because another one will pop up in its place if it is truly decentralized. And you run into problems where you have projects like a bridge, like Richard has talked about, where you have to have admin keys because they haven't perfected a what do they call it, an atomic swap, right? And so anytime you have something with admin keys, counterparty risk, a centralized entity, a business entity that holds the product that you're using, you have centralization. And the way to get around that is to be truly decentralized. And until people actually start using these cryptos, these digital assets, NFTs, any of the digital assets as they were intended, truly exchanging them, you know, one for one, you know, as fungible units or non-fungible units, actually using them as mediums of exchange. For example, if someone wanted to pay me for legal services, I would gladly accept any of the major cryptos from them, right, for that service. But it's tough to pay your rent to go to your landlord and say, hey, Can I pay you in JPEG monkey pictures? Can you take my rent in hex? They're going to laugh you out of the door, right? So until we get to that point, once we get to that point, and we're getting closer to there with more and more adoption, more and more people are willing to accept these cryptos, right? So
It's funny that you say that. In Vancouver 3 months ago, I think 3 months ago, a guy who owns a Board Ape, walked around and put ads out that he's willing to trade his Board Ape for a house. He did get offers for a boathouse, like a beat up one, but as you mentioned, like, so if that happens, and as long as it's completely decentralized, the entire project is untouchable.
pretty much. And even, you can go back to something like Terra Luna. Do Kwon, he is in the crosshairs of the SEC right now, and he's kind of playing cat and mouse with these people. But he has what he calls, I guess I don't know exactly the term of art that he used. I think I kind of remember it as like a dead man switch or something like that, where he could pretty much just push this button and the thing just it becomes amorphous. It operates of its own volition without any more centralized control behind of it. It's just the contracts out there in the ether, kind of like Hex is, right? Kind of like what Hedron claims to be.
Yeah, that's all the questions I had. Thanks for clarifying that up. One last question. In regards of Picasso's descendants, they took pictures of his ceramic art that nobody ever had seen, and they put them out as NFTs. Would that be taxable?
If they sell it and they get income, their income from that is taxable. And then if you purchase that and then you hold on to it, you can actually write it off depending on what sort of entity you took it in under. But then the moment you go to sell that, you're going to end up paying capital gains on that.
So every time the asset appreciates, I can write that off, the appreciation?
No. It goes down to the time that you actually sell it and transfer it, because that's
Okay.
the taxable event.
I see. So it would be considered as capital gains.
Well, the Democrats wanted to change the law such that you didn't even need to transfer an object in order to realize a taxable gain on your objects. So what people like Nancy Pelosi and Elizabeth Warren were proposing is that, like, let's say you own a house and it goes up in value. Let's say you pay $200,000 for your house, and surprise, surprise, your neighborhood's gentrifying. Now it's worth $250,000, right? You would owe taxes on that $50,000 increase, despite the fact that you never sold it, which is completely apeshit and mind blowing and insane. I mean, these people have gone completely off the rails. But luckily, I think
that's bananas.
It's bananas. It really is. But I think reason.
Can we admire that you said ape shit? We got steak and ape shit.
But I trademarked ape shit, so watch yourself.
No shit.
What jurisdiction?
It's federal.
Delaware. No, I don't know.
Delaware is where you want to incorporate. They're the most corporate friendly state in the nation. That's where Biden cut his teeth.
So I can't use the word ape shit anymore.
You can pay Mary Beth.
Don't worry. I'll pardon you. You can use ape shit trap gravity.
But Mary Beth trademarked it. So.
No, I'll give you an example of how nitty gritty this shit gets. There was a cheerleading team that copyrighted. I don't know if you're familiar with this. There's like a type of pattern, like there's polka dots, and then there's another type of pattern called a chevron, right? They had a certain color chevron on their cheerleading skirts that they copyrighted, and then someone used a similar sort of chevron pattern, and then it went before the court. They're like, okay, can we enforce this copyright? And the court's like, yes, you can.
Genius. Why
it's likeness and image. It's likeness and image. I've dealt with this before.
It's like Tiffany Blue. It's Tiffany Blue. Tiffany Blue you cannot use Tiffany Blue anywhere unless you have the rights to.
That blue box, man. It's the same thing. I know LSU recently, this matriculated down into the whole college sports things, where there was the issue of whether or not college sports athletes can use their what they call NIL, name, image, and likeness, and garner income from that. And LSU was one of the first schools to actually promote that, and that's why a lot of big time recruits.
That's a whole different journey conversation. Yes, you're correct.
But LSU failed miserably because Texas A&M murked us with it as far as paying people for name, likeness, and image.
But hey, man,
we're behind the 8 ball.
That Aggie ass.
Yeah, but still, that's what's crazy is our starting quarterback transfers from LSU to A&M.
Not good.
At least
look,
I was just
name,
gonna
likeness,
say,
and image. Go ahead, Mary Beth.
No, I was gonna say at least there's some street cred in the room because I hear SEC talk. So keep going, you guys.
But I used to do football helmets for local high schools here in Louisiana. Helped design them, and one of the schools was Santa Maria Gators. You can look them up. Well, their logo was the same exact logo as the Florida Gators. Just to get the word Gators on the side of their helmet. Now their colors are black, gold, and white. And they were sent a cease and desist letter. And they gave them 10 years, which was like a big, long amount of time, but they gave them 10 years to basically remove the logo off the field, remove the logo off the helmet, remove the logo off all the memorabilia, like the shirts, all that stuff. But it's because even though the colors weren't the same, it was like the likeness and image, Because whenever you looked at the Gators, like Santa Maria helmets, you immediately thought Florida Gators. And I think that's a big thing. It's like if you look at something, the way I understand the copyright laws, and this is from people that have dealt with like colleges and NFL teams, if you look at the image and it makes you think of a certain thing, then most likely you're violating the copyright, or you don't have a chance, or you're already standing on on the wrong side going in.
Well, think to yourself, does it pass the smell test in your mind?
Exactly. That's kind of what it is. It's like the smell test.
Exactly.
So, but I do. But that's all I know. I'm not a lawyer, but I do have a little bit of experience in that.
I'm all about survival of the fittest. If you have a product and you approve on a product, copyright's kind of that gray area that we're going to continuously run into, especially in the cryptocurrency era, because we're trying to replace the US dollar, the ruble, the schmeckle. Like cryptocurrency is literally taking the economics from, what every single country in the world is trying to do, and then throwing into cryptocurrency and trying to figure out which one's going to work the best. And it's all about who has the most economical energy. So you're going to run into this time and time again. So
do you consider NFTs a cryptocurrency then?
No, I do not, because they have different properties, which Hedron changed the fucking game, and now they're merging more towards cryptocurrencies. So now it's like, fuck, you just combined two things, and now we have double the laws to deal with.
Collector, I noticed that you got your hand up. I don't want you to get too tired, man. Your arm must be getting strong over there, bro.
He might have went up to 45,000 feet waiting.
Thank you. I have a few things for a few of the folks in the room. Crypto bit law, is I think Trap was making the point that I was thinking that I had heard before is that if there's a ruling against a particular NFT collection or whatever, there's no punitive judgment against them as far as fines. It's simply they're sent a cease and desist order when it's a copyright infringement. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, the way that it would traditionally work is that they would file, the plaintiff in this case would file the complaint, and they would name as defendants probably OpenSea or wherever whatever platform it's listed on, just to cover their bases and hedge their bet, and to try to get an injunction on them. And also, if they can actually track down some sort of individual or business entity that is responsible for creating that that collection. They would name them, and then I see. There's some novel issues because there's something called like the good faith doctrine, right? So like, let's say I'll give you an example. Like, let's say someone steals a picture, right? Let's say they have the Mona Lisa, right? So person A owns the Mona Lisa, and then a thief comes along and steals the Mona Lisa from person A. And then the thief has the Mona Lisa, and then they turn around and then they sell it to person B. And person B was none the wiser that the Mona Lisa was stolen, save the fact that the Mona Lisa is famous and everything. But let's say they were in truly good faith. They had no idea it was stolen. A court would allow, at least it depends on, this is jurisdiction from jurisdiction to different state level. And this is all litigation strategy, depending on whether you're going to sue in federal or state court. But the way state court works is that if you sue someone for stolen goods like that, and the actual buyer of the stolen goods was in good faith, at least in our jurisdiction here, the good faith purchaser wouldn't have to give the Mona Lisa back to person A, right? They could keep the Mona Lisa, and the only remedy that person A would have would be against the thief. And so that sort of good faith doctrine can also apply to actual purchasers or mentors of the NFTs. But this sort of issue has yet to be adjudicated in a federal court, to my knowledge, because I mean, NFTs like this, they're only a few years old. There has yet to be a case where this sort of issue has played out, where someone that is a plaintiff is actually suing the actual holders of the NFTs and trying to seek damages from them. But that also depends on whether or not these NFTs are tied into the marketplace. And then this gets into the whole technical issue of, whether they're wrapped into the NFT marketplace's smart contract. Because if they were, and the NFT marketplace got an injunction, then they would have to shut them down and pretty much remove or delist or burn or whatever they do to those NFTs.
Thank you. Hey, Mary Beth.
Well, so going way back to my original question, that's basically exactly what I was pondering on, I guess you could say. What's the liability on the members who are just clueless and they buy in? You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, you see, a lot of it would come down to.
Oh, and Mona Lisas are a thing, by the way.
Yeah, of course they are. All these NFTs, man. Initially, considering the good faith doctrine, the actual purchasers of these NFTs are going to have limited liability. But let's say there is a court order that comes down that is so broad that encapsulates putting an injunction, a future injunction upon the sale and transfer of these Mona Lisas. You're pretty much, or these whatever NFTs are in question, we would pretty much analogize them like Russia now. They're persona non grata. You can't deal or sell with these NFTs, or anybody that does or deals with them, or any marketplace that lists them in contravention to that injunction would face penalties in a court of law. But that depends entirely upon what the court orders. But this issue has yet to be litigated. But prima facie, my initial reaction would be that there would be little to no liability, because that seems like an extreme measure for a court to take that sort of approach.
So at the end of the day, it's a 50-50 crapshoot for everybody.
Not for everybody. Whoever created the NFT collection that's in question, that's nefarious, they're going to face penalties.
So
they
I
face the
buy
most
in
liability.
and have a 50-50.
No, the creator of the bad or the mal NFT
Right.
collection, they have the most risk, right?
Okay.
They face the most risk. Now, kind of further down the chain, lower down the chain, are the actual purchasers of these things. But a court, this is the thing, a court, if you hold these NFTs in your own private wallet and you have the keys to these things and they're bona fide yours, you didn't keep them on the exchange or whatnot, a court can't come and physically remove them from you. But what they can do is issue an injunction blacklisting the sale of these things.
My mind just went spinning in like 1,000 directions with that. So thank you for that answer. And really quickly, I'll let someone else take my space. So if I have a completely decentralized wallet, right? The kind that doesn't need my license or, no KYC, know your customer process. Is that included in, a non-prenuptial matrimony?
It depends on I mean, I'd have to ask you first what state you live in, but I don't know if you're doxxed or care to dox yourself. Certain
No,
states,
like
That's the best question I've ever heard.
I was wondering. So it's a serious, and so I jokingly tweeted yesterday because it came in my head. I'm like, if you don't sign a prenup, or I don't remember what I said, but anyway, you only have to give away 6 words of your seed phrase. And I'm like, how does that work? You know what I mean? So whether you're in California or Florida, right, or Missouri,
I don't
I
think
was
that would
thinking
apply.
about how it would work.
I
it
don't think that would
depends.
apply because you're not owner. You don't own your seed phrase. You just have access to the phrase itself. There's no actual intellectual property to a seed phrase, in my opinion. You
Well,
can't. You
I
can't
mean, it's not
because anyone.
IP, but
But
Well,
anyone
the
has
way
access
it's
to that.
actually, I mean, it's property in the sense
But you
right.
that,
have to
I mean,
write it down.
commodities are property, but
You have to
um,
write it down. You have to write it down. So the
but even
seeded phrase wouldn't be property. It would be what you have because the seed is not valuable. The seed
Well,
is
I know the
worthless.
seed's not, that was the irony of the tweet, but I'm saying, like, you don't know what's in a wallet. You know what I'm saying?
And you can't even prove if someone has a wallet either. You can say
Right.
I do, but
Exactly.
can you
That's
prove it?
exactly my point.
It's a decentralized wallet.
But
Yeah.
it's not just that. It's that you could prove that you have the signature and the approval of the NFT or the coin itself. It relates to the public key. Now, whoever owns that has to claim it. But the thing is that you own the property because it's something to own. You can't own a seed phrase because technically it's free.
no, which you own the wallet, right?
But the
Right.
seed phrase,
I know.
but the seed phrase is free. So technically, there's nothing to split.
Well, the seed phrase is, oh God, what do they
Are we
call it?
talking about a divorce and someone trying to get your wallet? Or are we talking about the NFTs now? Because it's different.
Just never get married.
This is actually,
Never get
this is
married.
actually a
No,
really
that's
good
not
question.
true.
But
No
it's a
one
really good
knows
question.
your public wallet address unless you give it to them. Plain and simple. So
100%. But if you do, the thing is that when you're splitting something by law, and it might be different in the United States, but for me in Canada, it's like technically if something is worthless, it's worthless. She cannot. The one entity cannot say I want that because it's not something that is in a way valuable. So you can't split it. It's like saying
Says who?
well,
right.
because it's like what? How? So explain to me
Can we
something
have
that in
the
a divorce.
lawyer and Mary Beth talk, please? Thank you.
Here's the answer to your question. It ultimately depends on whether or not your state, because this is state law right here. So we're in the domain of state law. So whatever state you're a resident of is going to determine what body of law you're going to apply to your situation. So let's say you got married in California, and they have pretty liberal laws, right? As opposed to somewhere like Louisiana or Mississippi,
Too liberal,
right?
but
And the difference between those two is something known as a community property regime. And based on that community property regime will determine whether or not what property you had belongs to whom based on when you had it. So, for example, in somewhere like Louisiana, where we have a community property regime, if you own something like crypto or a house before you got married, after you got married, the house and the crypto still belong to you. Any gains that you got from that are community property. So the gains are going to be split 50-50, but the initial holdings are yours. Any wages you had that came in after you got married are community property. So they're 50-50, but anything you had beforehand was yours. If your parents donate you a house, even after you got married, Louisiana carved out a niche for this. We call it the right of reversion. That's not community property. That actually belongs to the individual that the parents donated the house to. So there's a lot of kind of exceptions to the general rule. But in a state like California, you throw all that shit out the fucking window.
We got married in Florida. So
Florida?
anyway,
You have to look and see if it's community property state.
No, I know. The separate conversation. So
well, actually, it doesn't. I mean, it depends on where you're domiciled, because even if you got married in Florida,
also a separate conversation.
Yeah.
And like the LLC of an income property is a whole nother thing. So it gets complicated, but I follow you, crypto bit lawyer. But okay, so someone down here, was it All Block? The wallet. So people have, okay, so
talk to me.
You do know who has an address or who has a wallet once you put that on OpenSea, right? And like, if you tweet about it, trust someone like me, I will figure out who you are. Do you get what I'm saying?
Correct.
So like, especially if you're a woman, right? We dig up on our men. And so I was thinking, okay, so what if they hold a completely because I've been experimenting with this for Web3 purposes, not for my marriage, but like I've been experimenting with like a hard wallet, a MetaMask that only has crypto in it, and then I have like my everyone knows my OpenSea. You know what I mean? So I was like, how would this work? And then if I got my Bored Ape before I got married, and then it goes up in value, if someone, gets divorced, and then where does the capital gain fall? Like, is it during mediation or like when it gets sold after when they were married? Do you get what I'm saying? It's like, it's so weird.
May I? Okay, so I teach a lot of people, and people pay me a lot of money to teach them how to basically be a secured creditor in this space, right? Everyone wants to be like a Donald Trump or a Carnegie and so on and so forth, and everyone wants to move the way they do freely because they feel like they have some kind of immunity, and they don't. They just understand what the hell they're doing. So, beautiful thing about a Web3, right? Web3 wallet, a non-custodial wallet, means you don't have to give any kind of personal identifying information like a credit card, such as your social security card number or a driver's license or anything that can tie you back to anything, right? So technically, if you can claim, well, I know his wallet address ends in 0554, and I know for a fact there's a Bored Ape Yacht Club. Okay, cool. They go, they verify. Oh, wow, he's right. You go and say, yeah, well, prove it. Wait, how? How is it possible I own this? I have no idea how it got there because they can't prove shit is what I'm trying to get at unless you admit to it, and that's it. Because I had to go through something similar here in Florida. Not a divorce or anything like that, but someone trying to act real fucking funny. Everyone here in Florida pretends like they're gonna help you or whatever, or they're gonna be business partners with you until they can find a way to fuck you, and they try. And thank God we have a court system for that. So again, it doesn't have to be that complicated unless you want it to be. Bored Ape Yacht Club, cool. Go ahead.
If you had, like, let's say, an adverse party had knowledge of a wallet address that was linked to someone that was accused of holding a Bored Ape or something like that, and it was amidst a divorce or something like that. If the party that claimed that the other party had a Bored Ape, went to the court and said, hey, this is the wallet address. Let's look on chain. Okay, on chain analytics says, this is the address. You could subpoena the person or, question them or try to get them to testify. And then the court would consider this term of art, this colloquial term of art, the totality of the circumstances. And if you get a judge that's sympathetic to the plaintiff in that situation, even though they couldn't get that Bored Ape, they'd make
He's
you
right.
split the baby. All right. And they give you half the value of it. Right. So it's not about proving shit, as we say.
Well, it wasn't my case. It wasn't my case.
And if you all
when there's a will, there's a way.
You got a hot mic going, buddy.
Huh? What was? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I was saying you got a hot mic going, so it like rubs against your clothes and it's hard to hear.
Oh yeah. I apologize for that. Yeah. Well, in my case, it was prove it. You're saying everything, unless you can prove otherwise. I mean, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man. And you're really wasting my time now. So what are we gonna do about this? And I was
think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the keys technically belong to the blockchain. Because the blockchain generates.
That's the general gist question. So I'm not giving any answer to anything. It's just, providing discourse for how people are thinking or not thinking about this stuff.
Minted Genesis tokens are technically worthless because they didn't have a value at creation. So it's just like the seed, like where I was trying to get at when I got interrupted was because it's not valuable. You have to look at why it's not valuable, because there's no actual intrinsic value to the seed phrase. It's what you hold on the seed phrase, and anyone technically can hold that wallet. There's no property to the wallet. You could own the NFT to the wallet, but I think later on, there's going to be probably jurisprudences in the future due to facts that people are going to go to court and they're going to prove that legally you cannot own anything on a blockchain. You have the right to transact. You have the right to click and do an approval. The reason why we own crypto and why crypto becomes a property at one point is because when we need to cash out the crypto, you need to get your fiat currency. But in reality, like in Canada, I don't get taxed on my crypto because crypto it's an unrealized gain. I don't know how the United States is going to furthermore go with their legal actions on this, but I feel like with people going to court, there's going to be no way, shape, or form someone's going to be able to claim, or it's going to be set in stone that a seed phrase in itself is property, because anyone can have that seed phrase. Anyone can have access to the seed phrase. There's no like the gentleman, I think it's Enes. Now he changed his name, all something. He said
there's no change. It's NFT all chains.
Yeah, and NFT all chains. He basically explained like you can't really prove I owned wallet because I did not provide my social security for it. I did not provide any form of ID, nor did I provide any form of actual money for the seed phrase. Right? A Gnosis safe could be debatable because you have to purchase it. A staker app is very debatable since you actually purchase it with your ID. But for a seed phrase that is generated by a blockchain, right? Because it is generated. Every time you go on the MetaMask, you could just generate as many seed phrases as you want. And on the seed phrase itself, you could generate I don't even know, it's like 32 to the power of like 632 of how many wallets you could do per second. How many wallets you could generate on your seed phrase. So it's basically, it's the blockchain that generates the seed phrase, and it technically belongs to the blockchain because you can't use that seed phrase anywhere else but an EVM blockchain.
So when you put your first bit of crypto in there, what was it? Probably like Bitcoin or Ethereum. Mm-hmm. Where did that come from?
You see, so where that came from was from a fiat purchase from a legal entity.
You could trace it all the way back
Binance.
to the sovereign, which was the mint.
It was Binance. So, but if you actually want to know the first way I got it was actually I put cash in an ATM with a card, and the card read my code, and then it went on, and then I was able to connect with the machine, and I put cash in the machine. Never showed no one my ID. That's
I
the
really like
real.
the lawyer's discourse on this one, honestly. So if we can keep the lawyer discourse going, famous, that'd be great.
I'm sorry, but at this point in time, lawyers have nothing to say in this because no lawyer
That's
has
not
ever
the
put.
point.
But I'm saying
So
this is
you
how
ever
it will
see
work.
Alice in Wonderland, my man? So Alice in Wonderland, she ends
You
up
know what
going down a
jurisprudence
rabbit
is?
hole,
You know what
and there's a rabbit
jurisprudences are?
hole
It
that's supposed to be
determines
gone down in a particular way.
determine the whole essence of your legal aspect. The whole reason why people win court cases or loses is because they go upon jurisprudences and they look at what has been done already. And since crypto is non-existent in the legal system, right now, me, you, or anyone in the crypto or law cannot say nothing. It's undetermined. It is gray area.
But
It's,
it's,
I'm giving you
that's
my
not
point of
entirely
view.
true.
Well, it
And
is.
I'm
The
not a
seed phrase
lawyer.
is, but the seed phrase, no one owns it. You
Well,
can't prove that.
okay, let me clarify something. My tweet about saying splitting my seed phrase was complete sarcasm.
I understand that, but
okay.
I'm just giving my point of view on things because.
But you said you got crypto from what was it? Using Binance?
The first legal way was Binance, yes.
And that's so. How did you get the purchase on Binance?
KYC.
I put my credit card and I KYC'd.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
that transaction right there is traceable.
100%. But how do you know that I own? How do you know that I own the MetaMask wallet that was created, the seed phrase that was generated by the
Well, a court
Ethereum
would
blockchain?
use your KYC to infer that you own it, and another way that they would do it, even with a clear MetaMask wallet that you just started up from nothing. Like, let's say you know the address of that wallet, and you actually went to a court and said, "Hey, this is the wallet. They own it. This is what's in it," and then they do chain analysis on it and bring it before the court, and it's like, okay, what they said is true, and the person that claimed to have owned it, it's like, hey, no, I don't really have possession of it. What someone could also do is subpoena IP records of the ISP that provide internet to that person, and then try to, I guess, colloquially backtrace. And they do what's called it's a certain form of attack. Pretty much they link the fact that you accessed these websites at certain points in time, and that creates enough circumstantial evidence to give a court enough of a means with which to transmute ownership to that individual.
You were using it. Yeah, that you were using.
He's 100% correct about what he just said. They tried that crap on me. He tried that crap on me. So now, if you are really concerned about that, let's think a step ahead. Right now, Binance is illegal in the United States. So if you did purchase something through Binance, well, yeah, you do have to get KYC, but you have to be from a country that allows purchases of, or allows the services of Binance, right? So, wait, hold on. That's just one I'm saying. I'm just saying that's one.
US operates in a host of different states. They're banned in certain states.
Right.
No, Binance, original Binance.
Pro.
Yeah, well,
I'm talking about
Pro, not Binance.
Binance, Binance, the original form is completely banned.
That's what I'm talking about. So if you are really concerned about it, you have to go through a KYC, but you can't KYC. So that'd be a different thing. And he's right about the IP thing, by the way.
100%. I'm not arguing with the KYC, but with the IP. But then they could only prove that I did it, not that I own it.
Well, no. Okay,
he's right.
Let me talk.
They could say that I sent the money and that I made those gains. Yes, but they can't say that I own that crypto. They
can say give it to me because I have it now.
Exactly, but the NFT is in tricky waters. It's in gray area because you technically NFTs are worthless. They have no backed value.
Hey, famous. Can I just say it's getting pretty late, and I know that the lawyer probably has a lot of stuff to do. So can we let him go with this, man? I promise, man. I love listening to you talk.
Collector's had his hand up forever.
I had my hand up too, man. Like I wanted to talk before, but no one let me talk. And as soon as I talk, it's like I can't talk. I don't understand. Like I'm still giving real points, and these are still legal points.
Okay.
Like,
well, hey, to address your point about the ownership of the seed phrase, right? I know that courts even here have determined that you can classify property as, corporeal or incorporeal. Incorporeal being not of physical body, corporeal being something, that's more tangible that you can feel. And these property classifications kind of hold weight into how you're going to divvy up property, how it transfers, so on and so forth, and makes its way through the legal system. Depends in part on how you classify it, right?
And so I know courts have held, and this blew my mind when I found out about it, that digital records, data, and MP3, anything that you can think of as data existing on a computer or in the ether, is actual corporeal property that is tangible. Why? They reasoned that the actual component parts of the ones and zeros on the hard disk were made up of magnetic charge, where the atoms actually had physical mass. And so they used that to reason that this was actual physical tangible property data that you can hold on to. And then to the other part, that the seed phrase isn't linked to the wallet per se. A court would more likely than not consider it what's known as a component part of the wallet and the property itself. So the seed phrase being a component part of the wallet, or a host of wallets that's generated through a platform like Ledger or Trezor or whatnot that actually host the underlying assets. So
To clarify really quickly, you're only speaking on behalf of U.S. law, correct?
I will see. This is the thing about personally. I'm in
Because I don't want to
Louisiana, so
disrespect. I completely forgot, Hex 2, that you're Jeff. Hold on a second. You're in Canada, so I am trying to see from your point of view. So thank you.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I don't want to
no. This
argue. I
isn't
just
just
wanted to give my
U.S. law.
point of
This
view.
is
I just wanted to give my point of view on things
I'm in a
because it's
mixed
like this.
jurisdiction,
Yeah.
and so there's two concepts of law, two bases. It's English common law, which is pretty much all of England and all of its colonies. Canada, Australia.
Commonwealth, please. Commonwealth.
They all use English common law. And then there was what's known as civil law, which was based off of a traditional Roman law, which is more codified law. And so they call it civil law because it maintains how civilians are supposed to maintain themselves in a civilized society. So you could trace that back down to Rome, to France, which translated to the Napoleonic Code, which ultimately made its way to New Orleans and Louisiana, which we use a little bit of both. So common law is based primarily off of this jurisprudence and precedent, with a little bit of statutory written law mixed in between. And civil law is based primarily on written statutory law, like codified law that is actually written down in a statutory framework that we more often than not interpret as the law. But the beautiful thing about it is that a lot of these things blend in together. And so that you can see a lot of these same principles in doctrines kind of reappearing from jurisdiction to jurisdiction.
Quick question on regards of law, since you mentioned the different forms and types of them. Is the universal law being respected in this case of NFTs? Like, it's someone's property, it's theirs, they have the right to carry their property from point A to point B without being harassed or bullied.
I mean, it all depends on your jurisdiction. Whatever jurisdiction you're under is going to determine what your property rights are in that given jurisdiction. In the United States.
My question was in regards of the universal, like our human rights are based on the universal rights, right? So any other law, man-made, it's supposed to not break the universal law or interfere with it.
Yeah, I mean, I know even when God God, they had in criminal law. See that this kind of deals in, even within those two divisions of different frameworks of law, there's two distinct frameworks within a legal system, being criminal and civil, right? And so
What about non-contractual intent on the blockchain?
that's civil.
Okay.
That's civil, unless you commit criminal acts like theft on the blockchain, and then you could start melding together, and then that's where it becomes like a big gumbo pot of all these different things. But in order to file criminal charges, you need the state is the only person that can do that. You know, it has to be the state, whether it be a city attorney, a DA, an AG, or a U.S. attorney, a federal prosecutor. They're the only ones that could file criminal charges.
So,
Crypto. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, just a question in between. So, a state law can override the universal law?
Well, a lot of state law is, I'll give you an example. In criminal law, they have these two things. They had one called malum in se and malum prohibitum. Malum in se is an offense that's wrong just because it is just wrong in just terms of natural law. It's wrong in and of its own respect. Something that you just look at it and you're like, that is naturally wrong. Like murdering someone for no reason, just walking down the street and just shooting an old lady in the head just for no reason. That's malum in se, right? All right. Bear with me for a second. There are certain jurisdictions, there is ambiguity between the age of consent from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. In one state, it might be 16. In one state, it might be 18. In one state, it might be 17. That's malum prohibitum. That is something that is wrong because the state says it's wrong, right? So it kind of goes back to your point of natural law, that which is, you know, kind of God-given and divine, something that we all know is right and wrong, as opposed to something that's wrong just because the state says it is.
So, thanks for clarifying that.
Man, just keep it civil. You keep it civil, it's all good and gravy, bro. At least here in Florida. Once it gets criminal and gets all mixed up like that, woof, he's right about that.
It's the categorical imperative. Do act only upon that maxim which the same time you could will that it become universal law. You know, Kant, and it just kind of breaks down into it's the golden rule.
And that's when you tell the judge, sir, make the right decision. And then
that is the basis of most of what is out there.
Question, Crypto Bit. How would you barter NFTs? Like, let's say you trade someone for an NFT for an NFT. Like, you know how there's a peer-to-peer system where people could exchange with each other. Like on Binance, I know they have that. But in a way, it's like, you know, you're exchanging your money. How would like exchanging an NFT for an NFT work? Would that be a taxable event? And if so, how would you see it? Like, how would you like value it? You know, because NFTs are technically at $0.
Add on to that question, can I barter crypto for a house?
You could definitely trade NFT for NFT. I think the problem, you only really run into the problem with taxable events like that when you actually trade the NFT for fiat, something that can be denominated in either dollars, Canadian dollars, rubles, rupees, what have you, right? That's when you would incur a bona fide taxable event. And even in the United States, 9 times out of 10, if you don't get a 1099 from an exchange, then more often than not, the overworked and underpaid IRS agents aren't going to know shit about it. So your liability for not claiming it is going to be greatly diminished in the event that you did not get a 1099, not legal or financial advice or opinion for that matter. In terms of bartering crypto,
about tax advice
or not
just fucking
advice.
with your crypto bit law.
I should have even said that, right? In terms of actually exchanging crypto for a house,
I should clarify. I'm sorry. To Hex 2's point, that one wallet that he said he didn't have, if I own it now, like, and it happens to have $1 million of Ethereum in it, can I barter that wallet for a cute little house?
Yeah, I mean,
swap it for Hex.
That's a good question, because let's like that, because that's what happens if someone figures out my seed phrase or steals it and that does something with it. Am I liable for that? How am I supposed to prove that it's not me that did it? I would have to do with the IP. But then there's a VPN that comes into play. You know, so like she said, she actually got me thinking on a question, because
even with the VPN, I know courts have held people would use Tor in order to access child pornography, right? And Tor kind of acts similar to a VPN, and the way that they actually convicted them and gathered evidence investigators would sit outside their house with what's called a stingray device, and it would pretty much zap all of their fucking radio frequency signals, and they decrypted them to determine that they were actually using it to access Tor at the same time that all of this child pornography was being unloaded from a honeypot, and they used that in order to, I think it was called a correlation attack. That's what they called it in the court. And they used that to actually, bring enough evidence to get these child pornography creeps convicted. In terms of actually trading crypto for a house that you may or may not own, the moment that you commit that transaction and sign a transaction transferring your crypto funds to another address for the house as consideration, you expose yourself on the blockchain as A, being the owner of that house, and B, being liable for the taxes incurred in the purchase of that house.
So the title would be on the house? Or I'm sorry, title would be on the blockchain?
No. The way that it
Right.
would work is, okay, let's say if you
Or
were
the deed,
if
whatever.
you would have to convene with the seller of the house, and if they were willing to accept crypto in consideration instead of fiat dollars, that would be part of the act of sale, right? And then upon transfer, as another part of the act of sale, it would say, hey, once the seller receives this amount of Ethereum or whatever the fuck digital asset we're giving them for the house, once they receive that, they are to transfer the deed of the house to the buyer, right? You, as the buyer, would get physical possession of the deed, and then it would get recorded in the mortgage and conveyance records for whatever your clerk is in your county.
I'm gonna that this could lead to so many more questions, and I will bounce out to listener so Trap Gravity and Collector can ask questions. But so for example, and I want a very unbiased, because I know that there are a couple communities in here, unbiased answer. For example, my client, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. If a person is selling their house, right, and their share of, fuck it, when divorced people have to sell their house and they go get another house and they have money left over to invest, like, what, I'm like, how does this work in real estate? And like, how, would it, should she turn this into Ethereum? Like, is it even reasonable to think about like taking money, you know, and leveraging crypto against real estate? I mean, you could take that's a whole nother conversation about like taking like a HELOC or something, and then applying it to whatever APY platform you're on. But I was just wondering, should people even think about that?
I mean, you could
I was
deposit
asked that question.
crypto as a security interest, for a mortgage. And people confuse mortgage all the time. They say, "Oh, I'm going to go pay my mortgage." That's incorrect. What you're actually paying is your note. A mortgage is an accessory contract that secures the promissory note, which is an agreement between you and the lender to repay a certain sum of money, right? And so the mortgage is a security interest in the house or the property that says that, hey, the lender gets first dibs on it in the event that you default in paying them back, right? But the actual obligation between you and the lender is the promissory note or the note. And surely, there's no doubt in my mind that in the future there are going to be lenders that will allow you to post crypto as security for loans, to get things like
They do already.
property.
There's a company in Miami that allows you. But you can basically show that you have the Bitcoin. Then they do something special. The name of the company is Milo, and then from there, literally, that's how you qualify for your mortgage, and voila, they make it happen somehow. So by having that Bitcoin, you don't have to put any actual fiat down, no down payment, no nothing. Just, hey, this is what I have, and I don't know where they go from there, but it was like a huge thing down in Miami. because it was
How much Bitcoin do you have to have though for that to?
That I don't know, dude. But all I know is that they found a way to say, all right, you own Bitcoin. Well, the amounts of Bitcoin you own, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Or they do something with it, but you don't have to give it to them as you would fiat. And then they, in return, do what a mortgage lender would do.
They would do that in Miami. That's
They do,
so
I swear.
funny.
Craziest crap
They
in the world.
would.
Yeah.
I'll say this: if you're looking to hide assets, the best day to do it was
Florida.
yesterday. So,
Wait, what did you say?
if you or anyone you know is looking to hide assets, the best day to do it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh,
Take that
100%.
with a grain of salt.
I see.
What's up, Collector?
Collector's had his hand
Hey,
up for a
thank
long
you so
time.
much, you guys. I just wanted to say thank you, Hex 2, Hex Turtle, Hex is the Way, and Crypto Lawyer for allowing me to even come up here. And it's great to hear from the Stake, Trap, Collector, and everyone else, NFT all, Parkway. But thank you so much. It was my first time in here to have another group, to have some intellectual discourse about crypto and Web3. So thank you so much.
Hey, Mary. Hey, we were the best group, right?
I wanted to say
Come
her
on
name is Mary
now.
Beth.
Come on.
Mary Beth.
Don't do that to me. But it's
Hey,
Mary
Mary
Beth,
Beth.
yes. And but you guys, it was good. It was good. Thank you so much.
Hey, Mary Beth.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't step down yet. I had a question for you.
What's up?
Hey, I deeply appreciate you coming into the space. Very interesting questions and a lot of in-depth stuff that you were probing there and stuff and everything. And I was curious, you talk about that you have the check mark and everything, and which is congratulations.
No, no. Is that what you're asking about?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Keep going. Thank you, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. Are you actually actively involved in promoting any NFT projects? You indicated people are coming to you.
I am so happy you asked me that. Okay, so I'm going to break it down for y'all. I call my check mark a Web 2 check mark. So I actively researched this the other day, the history of verification. So during my generation of check marks, so by trade for 10 and a half, 11 years, I worked as a public relations professional with mostly athletes and then some Hollywood executives and or talent. And I've done expert commentary, and I've been quoted in money.com, been on Entertainment Tonight as a talking head. That is why I have a check mark. And I want to say that in every space who asks me, because the Web3 check mark is a whole different game. And it's confusing. I have a private collection of screenshots of verified accounts that are not identifiable people. So I do want to throw that out there in spaces. Whoever wants to give me shit for it, totally cool.
Hey, I can back you up on it. I can probably add to it.
Yeah, so I wanted, that is why I have a check mark. I also removed the word Web3 from my I put here to learn Web3. Like, I really like to learn it, if you guys haven't noticed, but I removed it because I didn't want NFT communities to keep approaching me. I realized that I could sell my account for a shit ton of money and not work again. B, I actually have real marketing in real life, public relations experience, and I was pretty damn good at what I did. And there's no way in hell I'm going to work for you on the back end. Just saying. 3, I'm appalled that Twitter hasn't cleaned up the verified check mark, issues. And it literally, it kept me up at night one night. It made me sick to my stomach. And I am very worried about the NFT communities that I see infiltrating intelligent crypto communities that have no idea about NFTs. And that is the only reason why I came in this room, because I am one of one persons who will actually say this out loud, because I have a lot of love for NFT communities. I think there are bad intentional rugs. I think there are NFT communities with great intention, but they kind of know what they're doing. Some really know what they're doing. I used to have public lists of like, hey, follow these people, for crypto, follow these people for Web3, follow these people for NFT. And then I realized I had to keep deleting and reshuffling. And I'm like, wait, no, they're actually a crypto person. Or wait, they're actually nobody at all. Um, and then I actually just made the list all private, because I don't want to steer anyone in any specific direction. Um, Disclosure, do I provide marketing services to real communities? Yes, only based on they have to have a Zoom call with me. I need to see who they are. I need to know their first and last names. I looked them up for every NFT. This is why I just closed my DMs the other day. Um, NFTs, NFT communities will send me like a message that says like, hey, join our space. I'm like, fuck, now I got to go to LinkedIn. You know what I mean? And I will look at their .com, because I feel like I have an obligation because of the algorithm, right? I go to LinkedIn, I will literally message um whoever's on their team, like, hey, are you with this community? And if they don't message me in time, I won't go in their space. It's so exhausting that's why I have to like have off days from Twitter, because this used to be my favorite platform, like before Web3, and now it's the most brain, traumatic platform out of all of them. So it's very confusing, and I when real verified people follow me, and they have nothing to do with Web3, I will immediately DM them with like, hey, I don't know if you're into NFTs or crypto. If you're not, just disregard this. So just what's up anyway. But like, there are going to be I can tell by your followers, there are going to be bad actors in your DMs trying to like, and it'll look like, really good. It sounds good getting an ETH, but it's not worth your reputation or your contract with blah 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 blah. So that's a real thing, and I really wanted to share that out loud somewhere.
Wow,
Hey,
it
Mary
must
Beth,
really suck to be you.
Mary
That's tough.
Mary Beth. Yeah,
Yes.
I appreciate that disclosure and everything. I'm a NFT artist and I'm an NFT collector, and I've participated in a lot of different projects. Based on your questions and stuff like that and everything, and also your response, what you just said now, it's clearly evident that you have your head in or at above the water as far as trying to steer clear of danger, because it's so much criminal stuff going on out there. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. And like you said, there are some good projects, and then there's other projects that have very good intent, but the people are just ill qualified to run anything. They just don't have the business sense to do it, and they run out of money, and it's a slow rug. And so I'm very thankful that you're cautiously approaching it, because one of my concerns for you, and it's not that you need my concern, was for your reputation.
That's
I just,
exactly what it is. Yes.
yeah.
Thank you.
And so I deeply appreciate how you're thinking about it and stuff like that, because there's so many bad actors out there, and I just hate how people are being taken advantage of. There's one project that I was involved in, well intentioned, somebody I've known for over a year. Things were going great. Things were being hyped up. There was a person like you that had the check mark that was involved in the project. Everybody was, hey, that check mark, that person, that's a good person. You know what I mean? And slowly but surely, the money bled out of the project, and now that person's name is just mud.
Yeah.
They are permanently tarnished with that project. And so I just wanted to express that to you. And it seems like you're already thinking through all those issues, and I'm just so very happy and excited for you in the
Thank
space.
you. I feel like I tell people like I'm gonna take one for the team. Like if I sound like the asshole or whatever, like I'm in different little micro groups offline, like, and we all exchange info. So like the bullying, look, I get bullied just for saying anything, so I don't really care, whether it's in my DMs or in responses. It's entertainment for some people, but the fact that I only have like 4,000 followers, and then when I see actually people on TV or who play sports and they get a certain one or two following them in the NFT or crypto space, that's when I'm like, all right, I got your back. You know what I mean? So I just, that's why I was asking so many questions to Crypto Lawyer about trademark. I'm like, am I wasting my marketing energy? It's not even about like the money, like, would I work with this company in real life? So for me, I can't fathom working with any project, whether it's a new real estate platform, crypto platform, or community like NFT community. But if it's not treated like a business, I won't be able to execute what I do, if that makes sense. So for NFTs, I'm like, great, what's your utility? And no one actually knows the meaning of that because it's still being created, right? And so what I ask is like, great, I understand the utility for the holder, the first holder. What's the utility for the second holder? And what's the utility for the third holder? And why would the seventh holder pay $400,000 for it? Tell me. So if I can't comprehend that, then it doesn't make sense to me. But I have been, and the irony is like when I find my gems, like, do I even share that? So that's what's really messed up about Web3.
Well, and onto that, me and Mary Beth, we had a really good interaction in this
Oh
community, and we had a
yeah.
really good discourse with people who were having their influence that they didn't understand exploited.
Yes. Okay, I will address that. So I'm going to call all of you guys out really quick. Okay. So I'm a real life person. Okay. When I'm on Twitter, I'm just Mary Beth Salas. Um, and then there's Web3 Twitter, which is completely different from my regular tweeting friends, right? That I know in real life. It's, in the past, it was a lot of like journalism, PR, sarcasm, stuff like that. And now in Web3, I feel like I'm in a high school cafeteria. It's like you can't sit with us unless you think like us and unless you talk like us. And people like me, I hear that. But I also hear the bullies of the groups, but I also hear the good eggs in the groups. And and some people, even if you only have like 300 followers, I can tell who knows what they're talking about. And it's that kind of person when like the algorithm is so real on Twitter that if I sit in your space, a bad actor from another community might come in and I'm scared that they're going to target that person, airdrop them a stupid NFT, and then I'm like, great, now this project is fucked. You get what I'm saying? So I'm trying to, like, even trying to figure out how to maneuver in this space is like, I was listening to you guys like offline, and then when Crypto Lawyer came on, I decided to come on as myself. So like I hear like the sentiment of different communities. And so I'm like, okay, this one's got beef with this one. I'm like, wait, I actually think that this person from this community and this person from this community, they're actually like the golden eggs of both communities. Should I introduce them or should I keep them to myself because they're geniuses? You know what I mean? So like I want you guys, and yes, I'm saying all of you guys, all of the communities, to realize that like there are people in here really learning and also seeing who are the too cool for school kids, the assholes, and like the kids who will say like come learn with us and come sit with us. So I did want to disclose that as well.
So for all of you people who didn't understand, without necessarily saying she's a Hexican, she's on our team.
So
Sounds
one
like
And
thing
that's
I
not
would
necessarily encouraging or endorsing, but the fact
Well,
of the matter that I disclose this as, whenever we look for people, it's a security standpoint first, not a, so teach people about how to be safe, teach people how to be this, not a, hey,
so
you want an NFT? Here you go.
so I the way I retweeted this room was for a reason. I don't know what hex.com is, but what I heard from like Hex Turtle in another space, I actually met Hex Turtle in some random dentist space who was a complete misogynist. And I was just like, oh my God. And I was like, let's all leave and just ruin his algorithm. You know what I mean? And so I was like, I started a fake room and just got to know, because I was like, okay, I know that there's beef. I'm just gonna say it out loud. I know there's beef between like Hex and the Voyager community. I don't know why, what is going on. And like there are good people in both communities. And I'm like, I'm not going to choose just one. I'm telling you that right now. I'm gonna do what I want with my money. So it's like I just follow the people and the brain. It's not even the people. I follow the brain work, and I read between the lines. So that's that. And in terms of the influencers, so look, I am a Voyager here in a hex room. Yep, I said it. um but I didn't do any of that work until like I sat in their rooms for 3 months, and then something clicked with me. So who hyped me in there? I was like, why is this dude got, have this room every single day? Yeah, it was Big T. I was like, what is he talking about? Right. And then I hear Bloomer, who's actually sitting in here. I was like, okay, I hear him. He's got some financial knowledge in there, and you know what I mean? And then like there's a Seffi, and then there is Lucky. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, this person's good for talking to a certain type of person. This person is like, I kind of, I'll kind of fuck with them. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but like, and then this person is who I DM, like, translate that for me. You know what I mean? And so you guys, Hex, have the same thing, And so in the Voyager community, because Big T is no one knows him in real life person, but everyone follows him through Voyager because he genuinely loves Voyager for his own reasons, right? Yeah, someone found him in an NFT community because I guess they heard him talk about Luna. And once he changed his profile picture to whatever that, PFP is, I told him directly, I said, yo, I still have a lot of love for you, but if you start shilling an NFT community, or if you use your profile pic in hosting rooms, I will not sit at your lunch table because I don't know anything about that community. So that presents another issue, and why I have to log in under different accounts just to learn about things. So do you guys see how there's so many like issues here, and the gap between NFTs and crypto communities, and the issue with verified check marks, and how the bad actors are manipulating all of them simultaneously?
Yes, I do.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just speak on that a little bit. So we do have a certain set of rules that we generally operate under in our spaces. We've been running these spaces like 24/7 for several months now. And if you follow anybody that's co-hosting, or some of us at the top, probably you'll be able to find our spaces. But we accept anybody to come in and we invite anybody to come up to the mic at any moment. There is a point though where if they are promoting something that we have no clue about, and it sounds like it could be, like who knows what this is, maybe it's a scam, there is a chance we would remove them from the speaker at that point and try to talk to them offline and see what's going on.
And it's fair
Yeah,
game if it's
right.
done, not done. Like if someone from another community is, vulgar about it or disrespectful, that's fair play, in my opinion.
But I would,
So
one thing I wanted to say to you though was so I get it that a lot of these communities are it seems like they're entrenched, but to be honest, like Voyager, if you're saying Voyager, I'm thinking centralized exchange, Voyager, is that correct?
yes, and I know that. So that's why, like, I'll take one platform, figure it out, figure out the why, put the minimum of whatever I need to do, and then I'll move on to the next one, figure it out, you know what I mean? And then like that's my MO for me
Okay.
personally. So that's
Okay,
why I
yeah.
space hop.
So so in the Hex community, we actually have people that have gotten into tons of different projects over the course of our, lifetimes in crypto. I have Voyager app, a lot of us do. We have Coinbase, we have Binance. So our community is very eclectic when it comes to what we are involved in. We're actually involved in a lot of different cryptocurrencies as well. But we generally uh, believe in a certain philosophy, which is more decentralized. So we tend to promote that the most, which is not your keys, not your coins, take control of your own finances. And that's our theme or our philosophy. And we generally use those centralized exchanges as a means to an end, basically. But we don't discriminate based off of those. We actually try to give people security advice to the best of our knowledge. And because we've interacted with so many of those centralized ways. So yeah, we really appreciate you coming. You could always come, or anybody who's here in this space can come back anytime and just ask questions, and we all learn from each other. It should be a welcoming space. We have times where it gets heated and we boot people out or we mute people. So oh man, it's fun. Hearing voices sometimes helps a lot because you get a personality that typing you just, either sarcasm or humor, you just miss it
For
sometimes. So
sure. Can I add another thing? Sometimes people who do have check marks, we literally just want to listen. And so sometimes I'll have to take the time if someone goes in I see someone who's verified that I know what their, learning game is. Sometimes if their DMs are open, I'll be like, hey, please don't call on them. They'll raise their hand if they want to speak. Because one of my pet peeves is when someone requests for me to speak and then they're like, hey, Mary Beth, did you have a question? I'm like, nah, dude, you have a question. So like that, but I'll never say that out loud, but then I have to like make something up and it puts me on the spot. So I feel like my role in all these communities is kind of just connect the dots for everyone. And yeah, and that's when I drop my mic, I guess.
hopefully I didn't put you on the spot at
No,
all.
no, no, you
Sometimes
didn't.
because my focus was more geared not towards, I mean, I don't care too much about check marks in itself because our founder of Hex has like 190,000 people following him and he has no check mark. So for us, we think about it a little bit less. We think the system is a little flawed. He's a public person. His face is out there for, decades and whatever, but I was actually more focusing on the aspect that these spaces are so male dominated and yeah, it's just an
So
issue where we try to push forward women speakers as well.
so the, I yes. The my response to that is yes, because I agree with that, and so I do what I do without saying it out loud. So when things get too bro, I'm like, hold up, let me reset this, a little bit, because
and
it's intimidating. Like
it is. You're
it
not
can
the
really
only one.
intimidate people.
We have hosts. We have hosts Sequoia. We have Redbird. We have Hexoccasion. We have girls that are part of the group, and we are very amazed on how they control the group, and we let them control the group because, yeah, you're right. The male dominance at some point it gets out of hand, and we do appreciate the female perspective on things because men do shut the fuck up when a girl says shut the fuck up. So it's
I
perfect.
mean,
You don't have
who
to have.
else was going to ask about the prenup? Just saying.
You're right.
But thank you so much, you guys. Thank you,
My pleasure.
Hex2, for hosting this. I'm going
It's
to
my
be a
pleasure.
listener now, and I hope you all have a good night.
You're always welcome to come and speak whenever you want, and you're always welcome to come listen. Don't worry about it. We won't harass you to come up if you don't want to.
Yeah, we hope you come back and join us. Very intelligent, very well spoken. Yeah, you have a lot of knowledge. We enjoyed it.
Guys, is that real? Like that, everything she talked about, like people go through that on a regular basis?
Yeah.
Dude, that is freaking terrible. There's even politicking and like, fuck.
Yeah, dude.
No, seriously, that sucks, dude.
That
That's crazy.
particular community, I didn't notice it until I actually looked at his profile picture. That astronaut has a Voyager pin right on its lapel, and he promotes Voyager specifically, which you can promote any centralized exchange or anything that you would like to. But the problem comes down to, we have heard a person specifically had a problem with Voyager where they wanted to buy a coin. So they bought a coin, then they wanted to send it out. Then they got an email from Voyager that said, "Oh, sorry, we got to go buy that coin and send it to you so that way you can send it out." Because those exchanges don't actually own your coins; they're just trading paper. So the problem of it comes to most of us in these spaces with Hex feel that you are going to get screwed at some point or another on a centralized exchange. Last year during the sacrifice phase, I knew a person who wanted to sacrifice and he wanted to send 2 Ethereum out. He sent 1 Ethereum out of Binance, and then he was like, I don't know about the other one. And he wanted to send the other one, but they told him no. And they said you had to wait at least 24 hours to 48 hours before they can send the other Ethereum. However, had he sold that for USDC, he would have been able to send that outside, no problem, because they didn't have the ETH. That was when the NFTs were booming. So the centralized exchange did not have enough Ethereum. So essentially, you create a taxable event on these centralized exchanges, and it's a good way to force your hand. So that's my point on why I don't like these centralized exchanges to a few degrees, and that's
Which
really
then
where
proves
I
her
start.
point, right? Because dude, I had no idea what the hell she was talking about. It was like those movies where it's like gang against gang. I swear, like I did not know that crap exists. I mean, I know there's people that like custodial, non-custodial, et cetera, but damn, like what the fuck? It's like a war zone in there. Hey man, shit. You guys blew my mind. But
hey, Crypto
conversation's
Bitlaw,
amazing.
could you check your DMs?
Hey,
this show.
Hey, Turtle, how did your boy get in Binance? I'd love to find out how I can get in Binance.
Binance.us.
But dude, I've been trying for 2 years.
Oh shit! Yeah, I have no clue.
Yeah, I have BNB in there. Look, I even tweeted CZ. I said, "Look, if you fucking just let me in my account, I'll donate half of it to the Sins right now, and the other half's going to the PulseX sacrifice." This was like a couple weeks ago, but I can't get it. Fuck. It sucks. Oh well, got Richard though, so end of the day, I'm happy. And we're about to have a whole new community coming over here. Y'all know that. Friday.
Well, you guys did a great job on the stream tonight, Trap. I caught some of it. I'm gonna have to go back and rewind and watch with Sandstorm Community or Sandstorm Channel on YouTube. I think Keith was on there with Joker, Hex Joker, and Trap, and I would definitely recommend checking that out when you guys get a chance. I know Richard Hart also did a very short stream, but he revealed some very important details like PulseX he said will be deflationary. So the picture that he showed originally sparked a lot of our curiosity, like, wait a second, what? So we're not going to be burning part of the token anymore? But looks like from what he's saying, it is going to be deflationary. So we'll have to stay tuned exactly how that works. And he also said testnet version v2.5 probably
Yeah,
coming
I heard
out in
that.
a week or two, right? So that's really cool because it would be nice to actually see, hopefully see some of this in action with a automated market maker bot potentially running and us watching it go, like getting closer to the launch of Pulse Chain. So
And for the new
I'm
people
really
in,
excited.
and for the new people in who don't know about Pulse Chain or Hex, we'll just give a quick, brief summary. Hex is a fork of Bitcoin that mostly resembles a certificate of deposit at a bank. Effectively, if you were to put 1 hex in for 15 years, it becomes 7 hex. I just use that number just so that way you can get a small scale. You get a percentage based on how many of the circulating coins are in existence and how many are not locked up. With Pulse Chain is essentially just Ethereum again. We are forking Ethereum, but instead of it being a proof of work, it is going to be a proof of stake network. So all of the tokens in existence will exist at the launch. And this also means that all of the tokens in the system state of Ethereum are copied over. So every ERC20 or NFT that you like on Ethereum will be duplicated exactly the same as it is in your wallet. We don't know the fiat value of everything because, well, there's no fiat value until the market finds it.
And it's going to launch at 0. So
yes.
And then Pulse X. So Pulse X is similar to PancakeSwap and Uniswap and SushiSwap. It's kind of like combining all the good things together with some more game theory mechanism and tokenomics that we have never seen before. And that'll be the go-to place where the liquidity resides, that you can make your cheapest, basically a cheap trade for as far as fees, gas fees, and having a very high liquidity to give you the best prices. And there's going to be a coin for that as well.
And the other thing about this, you might wonder, well, if everything is being copied over, all the Uniswap pools, SushiSwap, everything, doesn't that mean that those will be filled up? Well, the people who are forking Ethereum, making Pulse Chain, have made this automated market maker bot, an AMM bot, that is going to, upon launch, go in, scoop up every new coin, basically the PRC20s and all that stuff, purchase them up, buy them out, and then bring them all to Pulse X and force all of them in there and match the liquidity in a good rate because we are 10,000 Xing the supply of Ethereum. I heard 1 million, but I really don't quite know that digit number. So we'll get that spoken at some point when we get the numbers. But it's going to auto ratio the price so that way it's more similar to what it is on Ethereum already. And then it's just going to go ham. And for the first 24 to 48 hours, there's going to be no fiat value. And so you will be trading based on the price parity of the token, meaning if I have 2 USDT to 1 USDC, for example, I would be able to trade based on that pairing, not necessarily the fiat value of it, the digit value.
which could potentially be dangerous for people if they don't know what they're doing and they're swapping in that 48 hours. They could really wreck themselves. So,
if anybody in the room has a question or wants to make a statement, please step up. We talked about a lot of different topics this evening and also during the day. So feel free to step up. We'd love to hear from you. Just
Collector,
wanted
you
to
see
tell
me on
everybody
live stream
thanks
tonight?
for hosting the Space Famous. And I'm sorry, Trap. I'm sorry.
I said, you see me on live stream?
No, I haven't, Trap. I'm way behind. So I'm going to go out and try to catch up on some of the things that I need to see. And one of them is you on stream.
Yeah, Friday, we're going to try to get Sandstorm here to bring the whole Saitama, the Shira Heroes, and all that other, whatever they're coin.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I saw
And do like an AMA, like just trying to, because it's going to be like today was day 2 of it, and then there's something's going to happen tomorrow night, and I think Hex is the way, and Mad Hatter. Have you Hex Highway? Y'all talked about that? What day it's going to be?
So, actually, I was wondering if you talked to them about it. I talked with them just a little bit. That if I were to come on their show, due to the nature of me not in studio at the time that they're filming, I would only be able to do like a voice call, but I'd definitely be willing.
Same with Matt.
Matt Hatter would be a voice. Yeah, he'd be
Yeah.
a voice call as well, which is unfortunate because I'd love to do a regular traditional live stream if they could do it at another time. But
the thing is, though, they can go to your YouTube channel and see you. So it's.
Oh yeah, you want to
I don't
see
think
my
it's a big
face?
deal.
You got to go to my YouTube channel, folks.
Exactly, that's what I was saying. But they can go to your YouTube channel and see your face, so it's not like
I don't
you're
mind
trying
going
to
if you
hide.
have to. I don't mind to be the face if you need a face. No.
So I just wanted
Famous.
to-
You need to go on there.
So actually, what did they say today, Trap? Are they going to do Pulse X tomorrow?
It's supposed to, well, look, we were supposed to talk about Pulse Chain tonight, but we really got into fucking staking and stuff.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
look, people were.
You wanted to buy Hex.
We onboarded people tonight. I
just wanted to tell everybody good night.
Guarantee you we onboarded.
Good night, Collector. Thank you so much for bringing your knowledge and your questions, and thank you for bringing Crypto BitLaw and Alex here.
Teamwork.
Good job, Collector. I was worried
Good job
about you
on
had
the
your
room,
hand up so long. I thought you were about to go up to like 110,000 feet. I'm like, man, we better get him.
Oh no,
Back
I'm
down.
patient. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to speak, and I talk a lot in here, so I don't mind other people having those
Collector.
opportunities. To
We
ask
appreciate
questions
you,
and stuff
Collector.
like that.
Hey, Collector.
Yeah.
Two things.
Thanks for setting everything up, man.
Two things, man. Two
Yeah,
things I want
teamwork.
to tell
Y'all
you.
take care now. Good night.
Two things. Collector, you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Famous.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you two things. One, really appreciated you how you controlled the room, and I still think you'd make an awesome co-host. So I would really love for you one day to be a co-host. That's your choice, man. And the second thing, man, is I love you, man. Have a nice
I
night.
appreciate that, Famous. Thank you very much. And you were extremely patient tonight. I was proud of you. Y'all take care now.
Thank you, man.
Bye-bye. Hello, Hexy.
Take care.
I love you, Collector.
We all love Collector.
Good night, Collector.
What's up, Hexy? What you up to?
Hey.
I don't know.
How's Vegas?
We need to pull that H off your name and put an S in front of it with that picture.
International Women's Day. We got Hexy coming in. I just wanted to call out all the people. Thank you, Hex to Learn. Thank you, Hex is the Way. Thank you, Hex. Oh, that's me. Thank you, the famous Steak and Apes. Thank you, Hexy Cajun, one of the regulars, and the others are regulars as well. Crypto BitLaw. This is another time that I love having you in here. I was actually going to go back on the YouTube streams just to listen to what you said with Hedron. I have been lazy, so this was so much better. I have about 2.5 pages worth of notes written down. Trap Gravity, my man. You told me about the LLC, which made me shit my pants.
Full of shit too, huh? You thought
I did not. Yes, I did. But I learned to hold my tongue and wait. And after our talk, man, thank you for all you said, bro. And thank you again, Mary Beth, for coming up here. Sorry for calling you just the first part of it a couple of times. And Bloomer, I've talked to you a couple of times, and I want